Thanks, Prasad. So we have to understand how we are finalizing this design as a team. So how things get mapped end to end. So let's say based on the recent changes, you're going to use inventory API and inventory ID 1001, and that is a simple scenario, and how you map with beginning inventory, PLUs, as well as to the UI POS. That so yeah, so we had a quick chat with us. So let's start with from scratch. So you call inventory API and take one scenario and whatever you prefer from the API payload, and try to map things end to end, including beginning inventory and everything. And we'll dive into the other scenarios that you discussed with us yesterday regarding where you skip inventory ID where it is null, also where you don't create trade agreements when it is 0. So things like that you get into one by one. So first map things end to end, and whoever is going to share session, so please do, and let's start mapping things end to end.
Krish, can you speak to that? Krishnandu?
Okay, let me just check. Okay.
So
I don't see Salim on the call, but we have from offshore, we have Krish and Sunil and Manish.
So
you guys know if Salim will be joining us?
Lee, do you see what we're trying to do here? And Chris Park, we need to map things end to end. We cannot
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
we cannot just design and develop without we all understand what we are changing here.
So the purpose of the inventory master API is to create released products inside Dynamics 365 so that we will recognize those products when we create trade agreements, and we will recognize those products when we transfer them from the commissary to the store, and we will recognize those products on the POS when they are looked up. You know, when the LSA looks up the products to sell. So the inventory master is fairly basic, but it's obviously essential to everything that's downstream from there.
Yep, I get it. So
it's a reference to a product catalog for you across the Amtrak, irrespective of the routes. Is that what you were saying?
Now, the release products is just a list of all the release products that Amtrak sells. Now, we will have catalogs that indicate which of those products are sold on a particular route or a particular trip.
Yeah, that is correctly. So that's our understanding. So that's how it should be working. So let's rephrase what Aditya was saying. So whatever we discussed yesterday, let's take example of yesterday's thing where we're not going to create some products based on when inventory ID is null and all that. We don't want to get recipe, but there are some discussions being. We discussed a lot of things. So yesterday also we discussed. So based on that, Rupesh, correct me if I'm wrong, the way we are designing right now, it only works for certain trains. It doesn't work for all trains, right?
Yeah. Well, the release product, as we discuss, we have been discussing, so
yeah.
The way they are designing the PLUs is that they are basically picking up those that are attached to at least an inventory ID. And
the PLUs will be imported as barcodes and attached to specific items that you sell.
Correct. But as we progress, we might have questions. So somebody is opening up this discussion, or somebody is presenting.
I think Aditya is trying to map things on whiteboard here, but we're trying to see if somebody can share the screen from their side.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, so they can show us how this is mapped in D365 end to end. So we know where it will work, where it will not work, or it may work for all cases. So we just need to see that so we can all be on the same page. So guys, please take over and start drafting from end to end. So basically you call inventory API and you get this inventory IDs, then you release products, and then you get beginning inventory. So we have to map things end to end, basically between released products, beginning inventory, pricing, and UI. So how all these tied together, so we can all say, oh, everybody
Sure.
gets this design, okay, we're good to go.
Would it help if we just went through them step by step?
Yes.
Actually, if we get Sunil on and he can actually graph it through again like we did last night, that might be the easiest thing.
That'd be great. Yes, Sunil is on, I believe, aren't you?
Sunil or Salim?
Sunil.
Oh.
Or Santosh?
Lee Krish, Salim is not there today, so
Right.
I think Shreyas and
Okay.
Vivek, I have two technical guys from offshore. They can
What-
have a discussion with.
Sure. What we're talking about, though, is basically that's why I was asking for the BAs, because this is really a functional discussion. I mean, I can walk through it. I just think, Chris had mentioned that Sunil was on the call yesterday and had gone through it. But if Sunil is not on the call, I'll be glad to step through, the order in which these APIs run.
I think Sunil was not there in this yesterday's call.
Okay.
Can you just? Okay, you
Okay.
can.
Okay. Well, and then one of our developers can go through it then.
Don't everybody jump at once.
Suresh, you are sharing screen.
Hi everyone. I'm aware of some of the things. So Vivek, I can provide details about inventory master, how we are creating data, and maybe after that you can take over, and also trade agreements. So inventory master and trade agreements I know. So these things I can cover, and then Vivek, if you want to continue, you can continue with beginning inventory and all. Is that okay, Vivek?
Yeah, but I'm having some issue with the sharing, Suresh. So you can share the screen and we can have a discussion.
All right.
Based on that.
So I will. Okay. So right now I'm going to explain how inventory master works and how we are creating release products and barcodes, and then I will explain creation of trade agreements.
So also we need to map things with. Okay, so go ahead, start please. I just don't want to interrupt, but we need to map things with the beginning inventory as well as all the transfer orders.
Like menu master,
Okay.
beginning inventory,
Yeah, how the ID is tied together end to end. So.
All right. Okay. So I am sharing my screen. Let me know if you are able to see.
We can see TDD, Amtrak B365 TDD.
Yes. So this TDD explains. So I've written an example where I can precisely tell about the data, how we are receiving and what we are creating. So while we are doing, okay, let me also explain you this. If anybody wants to read, they can read. So when we are calling inventory master API, there are two APIs which are called internally because profile ID is coming from menu item, and other things are coming, other data is coming from inventory master, and both of them are linked through item ID, inventory ID. So we are calling two of them together, and we are populating our we are made two tables. We are calling it maybe a staging table or master table, and we are populating data. Once the data is populated through these two APIs into our staging table, then we are doing a release product. And so in your screen, you should be able to see the kind of data we are going to receive. And let's say we are receiving 6 records like this. And first one, we don't have a UPC code. So which means this is an item, and when this record is processed, we are going to create an item with item ID is equal to 6301. Now we are mapping inventory ID to item ID here. So an item ID will be created in AX. So item ID means it's a release product, and it will be available for transaction. And let's say in another record we are receiving a UPC. In that case, so in this case, UPC is based on the length of the UPC. A barcode will be created corresponding to that item. So a barcode will be created for item 6301, and based on the barcode length, it will be decided which type of barcode is created, whether this is based on the setup we have. Sorry,
sir. So currently we are using 3 types of barcode setups. Like one is EN13, which is having digit length as 13, and then we are using a setup called Amtrak barcode setup, which is having till 12, right? And then we have PLU, which we are using from 1 to 6 digits length. And as per this logic, it will automatically associate this barcode ID to that item.
Yes, so it's a range. So anything which we are receiving between 7 to 12, it will be barcode type 12, Amtrak, and anything which is between 1 to 6, it is PLU, and anything which is equal to 13, it's a EN type barcode which will be created against.
And one more barcode length we are getting, which is 14 length. So we are getting as others. Yeah.
Okay.
Is this your database table column? This is how you're storing it? Inventory ID, item name, package name, PLU code, UPC, profile ID. Is this how you are storing it?
No, not really. Actually, this is the incoming data, and we are storing it in the staging table. You can call it a master table. We want to save the record before we create a release product. So
can you in a parallel window also open the DML? Can you open that table in a parallel window with this document where you store all this data?
Yes.
Aditya, there are around 7 to 8 tables, right? That makes a product released, right? It includes Quota's product category.
You call inventory master, you get this data, and you store this into some table, right? Master table. So that is
okay. Okay, I got your point. So let me open it. Yeah.
Suresh, you can open Postman also for the same API.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Open Postman also and pull this API response and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll open both. Okay. Let me show you first the data which is sent from Postman. It is stored in the table like this, and this table has both my items and barcodes. So the name of the table is Vim's table, AVA Vim's inventory products, and this is inventory data. And I have created another table for menu items, and we are without any modification, we are whatever we are receiving through Postman or sorry through API, we are saving the data here. And the link between these two is inventory ID. Both of them has inventory ID, and system is
Sorry, like what API is the first one?
Okay, so this is
Vim's inventory.
So this is inventory master, which is Vim's inventory.
And
this is
duplicates. Why you have duplicates?
Here, okay. So here in the I'll show you Postman, then it will be clear.
No, but what is the difference between these two, Quota or Rupesh?
Oh, you're asking us, like one is a Vim's inventory master. Okay, like when you say master means that's how the products are purchased and put into Vim's system. And then we decide what it will go to the POS based on a PLU. This is from Vim's side, okay?
So, Rupesh, can we not give them this instead of I think this is one problem for them. They have to have a foreign key from the second table into the first table. Can we not give them a combination of these two into one so that they just maintain one table?
We have an API which has, it's always one-to-many, but we have an API which will tell you the inventory ID that is to be used as a main item in the menu item master.
Because ultimately that is what is going to be a release product, right? Because I think part of their problem is they have to always have a foreign key from this table into that table, and if they don't find an inventory ID, I guess, then the relationship is broken.
I mean, like it is the same thing. We can have all this filled as an array because it's one-to-many. It is the same thing as joins between the two.
Yeah, that way whatever ID they store, they have by default they have ID to correlate between these two data structures.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Like I saw some duplicates on the master, which.
Yeah. So okay. So in my screen you'll be able to see inventory master response from Postman, and you will see in this data for this item we are also receiving UPC, which are nothing but my so how I'm creating data. This is my item and this is my barcode. So that is why I'm creating two records, one for the item and another for storing the UPC. So I may receive multiple UPC corresponding to a particular inventory ID, and that is why you are having.
Okay, I got it. You're storing in one table. You don't have a referential integrated to another table. So you have.
Yes, that is.
ST.
Yes. So my primary key is not.
Kind of staging your table.
Yes, so the uniqueness is identified by inventory ID plus UPC, whatever I'm receiving.
The master and then?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Come again, please.
You got the master and then you come to the menu item, right? That's where you were explaining.
Yes, so
menu master. Let's just discuss these two tables case, because these two tables may give us good idea about all this, whether it satisfies all the scenarios or not. So the next one is menu item master, right? Go to that table.
All right. So this table basically is sending, I'm depending on this table to get my profile ID, because profile ID is sent by menu item. And I think yesterday we had some duplicate records here, but I think that is sorted out now. I mean, we identified some business logic to identify the right record. So now these table, the purpose of these table is also, I mean, we are storing data so that we can come to know, okay, what data is being sent by API, and if there is anything which is not correct, and then once the data is loaded into these two tables, we do a join from these two and create our release products.
So what is the relation between these two tables? What is the key?
It's okay. I will also tell you another, select statement, what I'm doing. So this is basically the criteria for creation of release products. Sorry, not this. So you will see it's joined on the basis of inventory ID, and because in one of the table I have multiple records. So if UPC is blank, it means it is an item, and I'm going to create a release product on the basis for those records for which is given by this join statement.
So you are basically doing inventory master inventory ID with the menu
Yes.
master inventory ID.
Right. And
for menu master, so could you pull that API? I just wanted to check with ourselves here. So how you are updating your menu master table when you get the menu master data? Which API you are using?
They're not updating, they're also inserting. First table, second API into the second table, and then they join it.
Yep.
Assuming that every time they have to do a release product, UPC should be null, and inventory ID will have a match.
So they're doing it one time master and menu item master. Insert. And then joining basically.
Then joining, yeah. They're not intelligently merging the records and storing it.
I didn't get you. Come again, please.
Yeah, what we are trying to discuss here is how does just a dump of data from APIs into two tables, right? So
Yes.
we are trying to think it through that how does this work for all of our business scenarios, like
All right.
so like when we have these some scenarios where you don't have inventory ID but you have menu master data, and sometimes you have menu master data and inventory ID.
Okay.
And also, how does this all relates to beginning inventory? Because beginning inventory is another set of inventory IDs, and yeah, you have inventory ID mapping, but just
beginning inventory ID will be matched either one of these two tables, right? Because
if they don't insert, it doesn't match. So we have
the first table.
So if you do a left outer join, you can know all the non-matching. Here it is select. If you do a left outer join, I know there are in the menu item master there is.
And the non-matching records on the first table.
Yeah.
no, they will not find any non-matching here because they only updated all the matching ones.
So non-matching are those for which inventory ID is 0 or null.
Do you have those rows? Could you pull those up?
That's something. If you do a left outer join, that will come here.
Yeah.
Assuming they updated them.
I think
Yeah. Could you do that? So we are.
And Quota
yes, I think I already. Just give me a moment. I think I already did yesterday. Okay, I think I don't have.
Join, so that will bring it instead of join.
Okay, so just help me with the syntax because I'm not very good with SQL.
Yeah, just write left outer join your table name.
Left outer join.
Yeah, space. It is not a one word. Yeah. So.
Yeah, run it.
Yes, that's it.
You're good.
So now what will happen is the records from matching and non-matching from left first table will come.
Okay, let me also put A and B.
Yeah, that would be better because it might be common column.
So A dot.
UPC also, right? UPC.
Okay, so
we have like not much.
Highlighted in
22, then 27, all this would be there.
So could you do this actually? Just take inventory ID 21 and map this data with those two APIs, just to see how you're mapping with API data between those two tables. You can do A star, B star. We just want to see all rows.
okay,
And just map it with. We're just trying to understand, guys. We're not questioning, or we need to follow through this. How we are feeding these two tables from the API data, and what is there and what is not there, and we have a bunch of other situations, right? So yesterday we discussed when it is null, you're not going to have that inventory ID, and how does that work, and all those things.
all right. So
Pick up 21 and go to API and shows how you're getting in API and how you're inserting here. Run both APIs, inventory master as well as menu master, and pick that 21 from API payload and walk.
okay, let me see, because if the data is already created.
Even in the released product, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this data is not there.
May not be a PLU item in menu item.
Sorry, Rupesh, right? In the scenario, hey, can you go to the leftmost column, the first two columns?
Yep.
Rupesh, in this case, right, when leftmost, yeah, drag it to the left. Yeah. So, Rupesh, in this case, the inventory ID is null, right? The inventory name is MISC test item and MISC charge. These are non-revenue items, but they are classified as revenue items here.
Can you scroll? It says B. It looks like a revenue item.
So can a revenue item have inventory ID as null?
So
no, this
yeah,
is
that's one thing, Rupesh, and another thing is the reason it didn't create a released product, it's because null, it's not matching in your query, right?
Correct. You're right.
That's the problem.
So yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay there. Let's
discuss this.
Yeah.
So go to APIs actually. We want to see why this is null and why this is not being created as released product. So what we are trying to do is, in how many cases we are not creating products. All these are going to cause problems in every single place, like transfer orders, beginning inventory, every OBOs and everything. So we want, the bottom line is, we want to create a released products for each and every sellable and non-sellable, because even non-revenue we need it.
Problem with non-revenue is it will show up in the POS and they're not able to hide those products.
But we need to order OBOs. Let's say I ran out of
napkins.
So,
yes, you can run the API.
Bottom line, guys, we need to have a released product for each and every product. That way.
Okay, one question I have. I got your statement. Expectation. But one thing is, how do I get the profile ID for, let's say, item ID 21?
So can you Can you also on the third, can you fetch the profile ID, A dot profile ID, or where B dot profile ID?
Okay.
Actually, like if you can ignore 21 is a test record, so this will be checking. Maybe scroll down.
Give something that 6,000 whatever, 1,001 or whatever.
Correct.
All right. So let me put a where clause, and then we will see.
Yeah, greater than 100 or something.
So Rupesh and everybody from Accenture team also, So is this we need to have a thought process here, right?
Yes.
Are we trying to resolve that, like we will have a released product for each and every product? Is that the right expectation? Because if we don't create a released products, we run into various issues, which let me explain what issues those are. So beginning inventory will have all kinds of products. So beginning inventory will be used for beginning inventory transfer order, and that transfer order item list will be used for OBO and waste also. So basically we should have a released product regardless of the data structure of that product, whether it's one to many or one to one or one to many and many to many, because in terms of support or all those modifiers cases, whatever it is. So since we are trying to build a released product, which is a product, so we should have a product for each and every product regardless of what is the relation between other things. So that is the bottom line understanding I have, and even
Yes.
So that's what
good products now. Corona 12-ounce bottle.
We can add a sellable and a non-sellable filter.
So all we need are things that are sellable. Anything that you're going to sell, anything that you're going to scrap, spoil, transfer.
Hold on. So first thing is we need product in the product list.
Right.
In these two tables. Then what is the characteristics of the product? That's a different item. So whether it's a sellable, whether it's non-sellable, do we do it anything with that? That's a metadata of that product. If you don't have the product, then we'll have different problems, because that product may be coming in the beginning inventory. That product may be needed on the OBO. That product needed on the waste. Right. So things like that. So
as far as sales is concerned, we will we can have a flag, but that is later on. But let's first focus on this, and then we'll move there.
Yeah,
I think I understand what you're saying, and I think if I do, you're absolutely right. We need to have in this item master load any released product that we're going to use anywhere throughout the system.
Any product, not release.
Yeah,
any product.
every product.
You may use for different purposes, because let's say that product is coming with a quantity in the beginning inventory, then you need that product in the released product.
Yes. Otherwise, how would you account for it, right? And if you want to OBO on that, whether it is a sellable or non-sellable, how would you
It's just that if it's non-sellable, we're not actually going to do anything with it. We won't decrement it.
Yeah, but that's fine. But we will send that in T-log as a consumption. That's a different story,
Yeah, absolutely.
That is fine. That we understand from Dave already, right?
We need in the release product to be able to do that.
Do the OBOs, basically, right?
Yeah.
So, Chris, you understand, right? Let's say you ran out of napkins, right? If you don't have them in your release products, even though you don't sell it, how do you do an OBO on that?
You won't be doing an OBO on napkins. Well, you can. Yeah, I mean, you can. You certainly can do an OBO. I misspoke. You can do an OBO on napkins. You just won't be. We won't know how many napkins you have because we're not decrementing them.
How will you do an OBO if you don't have those as a product?
No, he's saying yes.
He's saying
you're absolutely right. We would have to, in order to do an OBO on napkins, you'd have to have napkins.
Exactly.
So are we in agreement that every product, let's say, product means based on your tables, the join between these two tables, we should have one or multiple rows for each and every product, so we can create a release product for that inventory ID / menu item ID. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes. If you're going to use an item anywhere in the system, you need to have a release product ID for it.
Yep. So now let's try to drive that as how we are going to have that here. So in which places you are having this and which places you are not having this, and what changes we need to make in case we need to make any changes.
Yeah.
So let's.
We mean that.
Are you on the same page, guys? Tech guys, who are presenting?
Yes, Quota. Yeah.
So are you, Chris? Do you understand what?
Yep.
Now, just explain us where we are on that. So, in what situations you are creating a release product, and what situations
you are
able to create.
Okay, so I'll explain you. So as we have inventory ID 0 in for some of the records. We are not creating a release product. So this is one situation which might cause release product not to be created in the system, and in turn, when you create a trade agreement, that item will not exist probably, and trade agreement will not be created.
And beginning inventory will have that item.
Yeah. So in case you have.
So we are also validating. We are validating with all the release products, Quota, for the beginning inventory and other operations. So we are validating each item which is coming in the beginning inventory or trade agreement. If item is available in the release product, then only we are going to create.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, first thing is we need to make sure item is available.
Okay.
Yes.
So
this is one release product.
Yep.
Yeah. This is one point, inventory ID. Another point is profile ID. If I don't have a profile.
Could you write those notes? Whenever inventory ID is null, release product is not being created. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And when profile ID is what? Profile ID is not matched or null?
So if I have an inventory ID 0, I'll not be able to match my invent item with menu items. And in that case, my profile ID could not be identified. So which is actually 0. So
yeah, you need to write that up. Could you type that? So you said inventory ID is null. Yeah, case 1.
Hey Rupesh, also please keep checking this in WIMS database. What is the relationship that is broken here?
That is null in.
Well, they are not, as we are discussing, we'll come to the discussion, they are not doing the way WIMS menu or recipes are set up. They're doing it like only when there is a recipe, they're picking up the main item. So.
Case 2 is when profile ID is null or cannot be found due to missing inventory ID.
Okay.
So there can be.
Suresh, I'm taking a pause. So here, quota profile ID means, we are inserting these release product to a particular hierarchy node. Okay.
Correct. Into categories.
So let's say there is alcohol, and for that, we have profile ID as 109, right? If in our AX that setup is not available, then we are not going to create this product. We are stopping it.
So
right,
why you want to restrict that if category is not available, right? So everything else is available, just the categorization is not. Why you don't want to sell that?
This is required to send this information, this product to MPOS.
Just put it as a miscellaneous, right? If you don't get it, then why you want to not sell something which you can sell, and just because the description is missing, you will just.
Yeah, case 2 guys. Basically, you need to create that. You don't want to skip inventory.
Don't worry about
the category.
Default it to miscellaneous, right? And then mark it as something that can be fixed in the WIMS if at all there is any such scenarios. Right?
Okay.
Well, that's what I was going to ask Rupesh. Rupesh, can we deal with a product that doesn't have a product category in WIMS?
We have all the cash register trains today, like that has a default category which they're pulling. Like
so we have a way of sorting it out in the back end.
1109, which comes to default category because they don't have a profile today. They don't use a POS. Now,
you call it default or you call it miscellaneous?
No, it's default. Whatever is the source system, we have to do it default.
So in your case too, you also call it default.
Yeah. It's not what the calling matters here. The matter is like, are we missing any items while selling?
Yeah, look at the case 2, Rupesh. They said if there is no profile ID, they won't even create a product.
Why is our API pushing a product that doesn't have a profile ID?
No, it doesn't push a product that profile ID is empty. They are not getting a profile ID because that menu item does not have that record. It's other way around in that join. We don't send a menu item master with an empty profile ID.
You don't send that, correct?
No.
So where is it being lost or missed?
So what in this case in the SQL table, if you go, who is that representing?
Yeah. Yes. So
it is 1108. I can guarantee that in the menu as item master API, this record does not exist.
Okay, so in SQL we don't have. I don't think we have any product for which profile ID is 0. Let me just check once. So
If you run the API, that will be better showing us.
So, but what are these nulls?
Information.
We have nulls here, right?
Yeah, we need to fix those up. Guys, can you go back to that? Like, pick up the API, yeah.
So Rupesh, this is Ram. I've been listening to some of this conversation, right? So what you need to do is take a couple of items, right, and show exactly how they exist in WIMS today. And let the team here figure out a little bit of how it is associated. See, right now, we're just coming up with scenarios based on inventory ID is null or the profile ID is null. But how is it being really tagged in WIMS? That needs to be clearly understood by this team.
Yeah, we can go through the setup in WIMS. That's
so you need no, not set. You pull up a bunch of data. Let's go through, right? I mean, here it's so. What is your master key here? Right now, you don't have a master key, which is actually going to identify all of this. You have recipe ID, you have inventory ID, then you have a profile ID, right? It's all not tying to a proper master key.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gone to the recipe ID yet. This is they're tying up with just key inventory ID.
No, but you'll get the same failure again because you're just solving a piece of the puzzle. So why don't you show them the entire works and let them come up with an understanding of how to fix this entire recipe, master, menu item ID, everything, right? All of this, it's in conjunction.
Yeah, I mean, if they can design that based on the recipe concept, then well, good. Like we exactly it will work what will make sense.
No, but this team does not. It's not definitely designed by a recipe item. It is not. See, you can see it very clearly. Inventory ID is being used, and it is mapping to the recipe ID, right? In some cases.
Inventory ID is used, and it is taking only the master inventory ID here.
Right.
So Rupesh, basically, we need to sell a recipe as an item. So I think if those scenarios are there, we should put recipe ID, inventory ID, and close the gap.
So Rupesh, is a recipe ID?
Guys, we're not doing
We're
recipe
not selling.
Yeah.
No, guys, we understand. We understand. We are trying to provide.
Close your ears for this discussion.
Yeah, I know you don't want to hear recipe, but what we are trying to drive here is we should have a product for each product that we are going to sell. So to be able to get to that, we need to understand the mapping. When there is null, how we want to provide that ID to you.
Right. And not just items that we want to sell, every item that we want to touch.
Yeah. So, the way you import it is going to be the way that you use it, whether it's selling or, OBO orders or whatever.
So, I can present my screen. I mean,
yeah, why don't you present your screen, Rupesh, and show exactly how the traceability occurs, right? At least just listen, and then there could be other scenarios. We want to make sure we get it right. Do you have a data model, or what are you going to be presenting?
we have a data model. I mean, if we want to go through that.
Yeah, why don't you present the data model and see how the master key is getting derived?
Bear with me. Okay, so let me go to the, before I open the data model, let me go and present on the database side. I'm going to go through the tables that we have in WIMS.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Rupesh.
Yeah, that's fine, but any questions if they have, you can ask. But this is what is designed for the POS currently running and expected in the next POS. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so similarly, what you have like inventory master. This is where all your inventories that is brought into the warehouse through purchase or buyout. Once the purchase is done, this is where all the inventory master is loaded. So it has your inventory properties. Forget about menus, forget about PLUs for a moment, as if you are bringing products to the warehouse. So this has all the description and other properties, financial properties, and other things like a master. And each inventory has like a pack, how it is purchased, not as how it is sold, but how it is purchased. And it has a cost associated with it depending on your purchase orders. And then it has UPCs attached. So if I go into the system, so this is our entire inventory master list, which D365 should be able to pull if we just do a inventory master API. And then for each inventory, as I said, has a pack ID. Like if I go to 1001, it has a bunch of pack IDs, UPC codes where it is based on how you purchase, can, case, and other properties. So cutting short, that this is how the inventory master is set up. Now the bigger question is how you're going to define this as in a restaurant model. Basically create like a menus or menu items to be pushed into a simple point of sale. So what FBIS did, I'm not going to go through the parts, how they're loaded and all. What FBIS did, before going to the control, they created a master, which is called menu item master.
/PLU.
Who's that?
Rupesh.
Oh, hi, Rafael. Okay, so yeah, /PLU. A PLU is a product lookup kind of a number that any POS system they pick up today of the shelf, they'll be selling based on PLU item. So there are two phases how this system was working. One was when there was no POS, and then where eTech was there, and then NCR POS came into picture. So FBIS had two streams of purchase, sale in the system, one going through the NCR POS and then other doing the cash register POS. Well, there was no POS, it was basically cash register. So they have a master where we have different kind of items or PLUs, item IDs. Make sure this don't confuse that this is the I mean, it might be tied to an inventory, but these are the PLU numbers, as Rafael said. So if I go to you see there are two products when I search for Budweiser. You have a PLU called 601001 and then one is 1001. Now when you look up for that, there are two ways you can look up. One is a sold as is.
Rupesh?
Yeah.
When you say PLU and sometimes item, right?
No, don't confuse this item ID. PLU is a lookup number.
So you are saying always this is the PLU number always or sometimes?
No, it is always. We create tomorrow I go to create another Budweiser 6 ounce diet 64 calories. I go there here and then create a PLU for that to be sold in one of the route.
But question is, Rupesh, we are trying to understand that is related to the inventory ID, right? It
Yeah,
has
of
to
course.
come from inventory.
I'm just going to go. I haven't gone there. Which inventory ID and all, I'll go there. So if you see the 2 records I got, you have as this check button you see, this is an inventory item because it's sold as is, and then if there is a recipe, you have more than one items in that sale. So let's go how before I go to how a control is created, I'll go through the recipe first. The first item 1001. So 1001 has this number of items, although there is the item they're trying to sell is your Budweiser that has an inventory ID of 1001, which ties to your inventory master. And then there are 3 or 4 items like the support or the one that goes with the Budweiser is box carryout and napkin and etc. And we exactly saying how much it needs to be per cell. Box carryout is 0.02. You might ask, what is that 0.02? It's like a fraction of that whole case or whole pack of napkins or box that goes per cell.
So Rupesh, in that case, will it always be 1001?
It is always be Budweiser 1001 that you are selling to the customer. But at the same time, during that sale, you have these being decremented.
We are doing one napkin, one logo cup, and one box.
We're not doing that in the new system. Unless we go to
Tom, I think they're not doing that, but if you pause there, they have a headquarters system which they're going to do that. They're going to get from the beginning inventory, what I heard, they will get this as from the beginning inventory, the quantity that is being loaded, and they're going to decrement that to our sales API. Basically to give you a theoretical count.
They're doing that at HQ or?
At the HQ, everything is to be done at the HQ level, not at the MPOS level. That's what I heard. Anybody?
But I'm under the impression today that that's a future piece. That
is a future piece.
For the sake of POS, NextGen POS, all we care about is that they sold a Budweiser, but the train also had on it an amount of carryout boxes, an amount of cups, and an amount of napkins in this case.
That's exactly right.
You are correct. Yeah.
Then I pause there. If you're saying that it is in the future release, not on the 6.1. Let me correct this. You're saying that whatever amount we are sending, amount of box carryout, napkins, and the cup, you're not going to take care of that at all. You're not going to consume that. You're not going to send us back anything on that. Am I correct?
Correct.
What I understood, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not in on every one of these conversations, but what I understood was we were going to tell them that we were putting 100 napkins on the train, or 2/10 of a sleeve, and at the end of the trip, they were going to tell us, yeah, you had 100 napkins, or you had 2/10 of a sleeve on that train.
Yeah, but that discussion has further negotiated down the line, because that's what Dave Vitek was going to provide. That they're going to calculate based on the sale, because they have a guest check number telling us exactly what has been sold, whether 5 Budweiser is sold. They're going to do that in the
you and I are in agreement in terms of when that functionality happens. I don't have the answer. I don't know that answer, but
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
Dave is out this afternoon, but I will find out and we'll clarify that for sure.
We need that. We have been following this open-ended question for a while, Krish. So if everything is for future release, but this is the minimum thing that we need as far as PDSII sales file.
Right.
So Rupesh, coming back to the topic, right? So let's say when we send them recipe, today we are sending them recipe IDs as well, right? In the inventory or menu?
Well, like, if you want, I can go to the IDs we send. Yeah, we send.
Yes, call that API and see what is the null coming, because we just have to tell them the relationship between this recipe ID and that inventory ID, so that they can stitch with that. So for 1001.
So here, if you see, as I said from the beginning, that menu item master is your kind of a PLU master that they create. So if you see there, the field that is returned is your some properties like profile, department, preparation type, how you're going to prepare that product, or like heat or cold, whatever, and then they give you a product recipe ID, factors like combo meal, whether it's a combo meal or not, and then the button description, which goes to the POS button description, and if it is a main ingredient or not.
Okay.
So there are a few cases which will come, like there, as you can see, first few records of this record set has a product recipe ID null, and it has a main inventory ID, which tells whoever is consuming this data that this it is not a recipe, it is basically sold as is, and we have a main inventory ID 25. They will not have any inventory ID null in this case. Am I correct from Action 13? Okay, I mean, don't.
So the item which was can you search 21 if it is here?
21 is a bad item.
Because we were having
created for Jack.
Yeah.
00, that Budweiser that you were looking at.
Oh, Budweiser 1101, right? Sorry, I'm sorry. 1001. How can I forget?
Yeah. Budweiser always works.
Okay, go scroll up.
All we sold was Budweiser would be great.
Yeah, only Budweiser.
Okay, if you see Budweiser, we saw in the screen, right? I saw that there are two items that will be returned from the API. One is a Budweiser sold as is, and another is a recipe. So we send exactly how it comes. So in the sold as is, they will have
So Rupesh, the profile ID is not null. I see a 10 there.
No, it is not. It is a default. So in the paper-based trains, they just have a default profile ID.
But in the query, it came out as null, the one which we ran just now for this product.
Any query, they don't find a record when they join, everything will be null. And
I think, Rupesh, the problem here, 1001 is okay. The problem will be 61001. Go and search that one.
Yeah.
That is
601, which
here it will be null, right?
here we have a profile ID. This should be in alcohol. If you go here, it should be an alcohol profile. 109. And then we have an inventory ID, and on the modified API we have the inventory ID. But the problem you guys are not catching is like, are they also getting those sub items, not the main inventory ID? They're not considering those items.
So Sunil, can you give that item ID that we were seeing and was missing there? Can you give us that description for that? In your when you were showing us, right, greater than 100, we were seeing
just a minute. So 1108 is one of them. 1108.
1108.
Yeah.
Is that an inventory ID or a menu item?
It's an inventory ID. 110.
Well, in your terms, is it a PLU or an inventory ID?
Inventory ID.
Yeah. So
I think he's taking from WEMS inventory master.
Okay, so I'm not going to run that master because it's a little slow. Looks like it is a Corona 12-ounce bottle.
Yes.
1108, right?
Yes, 110 Corona. Yeah, the first one.
Okay, it looks like it's a revenue item. And if I go
search this in menu.
Yeah, I'll search in the menu. I'll search in both an API and in the UI, just in case API is giving us wrong result. But it should not. Okay, so I see like food and beverage hasn't created a PLU 1108. I'll check it. This is in test, just in case I'm.
Search Corona.
Check it.
Yeah.
Search for Corona, Rupesh, over there.
Search Corona, Rupesh.
Corona, okay, one second.
Previous, yeah.
Corona definitely will be there, but let's see. Okay, so we have Corona Extra. Corona, it looks like Corona 12-ounce bottle.
And the ID is not the same thing as the inventory ID because those are independent of each other.
Right, so somebody, whoever, this is a test system, we shouldn't rely on this data. So this should have been ideally attached to 1008.
Isn't the database the same thing, Rupesh?
But in prod, can you just bounce right back to prod and see if it is 1008?
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah. Because then we may have to re-import the data from prod to test.
Yeah, that's a one-time case, but we should be sure that they are getting for all cases. If it is same as in production, then
I'll run the query, Rupesh. Just open the query and check over there where the item ID is 1108 on the menu item. The same thing over here because I think the database on test came from production.
To Corona.
yes, Corona is
It's an issue also. How are you doing it today in production, Tom?
this is not used in any of the POS machines. So basically, it is used somewhere. I have to see which route is used.
It's on a non-POS train.
It's a non-POS train. So the POS train has a. You see, POS train has this.
Even non-POS, POS, We need it in the current view.
Everything's going to be pairwise.
Yeah, so the relationship has to be solid. Otherwise, we'll have always issues like that.
Is there another example besides the Corona?
So, Sunil, can you look at the other than this? Can we go and in our examples look at something else beyond Corona?
All right. So, okay.
Another thing for you guys to keep in mind is that a menu item ID a lot of times might not have exactly the same ID as the inventory ID. Because you can create any menu ID and give it a completely totally different inventory ID that you sell it as is, or on the recipe.
Then
so Rafael, are we returning menu ID as a menu?
Menu item is like a PLU. So a PLU, you create a PLU, let's say 1,000. Okay. When you sell this PLU 1,000, you can sell for 1,000, let's say on the menu item PLU 1000, you can call it Budweiser, and then you attach the inventory 1007, that is the inventory ID for Budweiser. So the menu ID is not, a lot of times it's not going to be exactly the same thing as the inventory ID.
So you understand.
But what is the unique key, Rafael? But what is it? How do you really identify the item uniquely? Is it the inventory ID, or is it what is that?
Okay, what we're selling, or what the prior POS was selling PLUs, and then the PLU had an inventory ID assigned to that PLU, and from that they knew, okay, if I sell 100 or menu item 1000, they will know which inventory ID to reduce.
Okay, so it's a one-to-many PLUs. One inventory ID has many PLU IDs, and the unique combination is inventory ID plus PLU ID.
No. Like that, because a menu item, you can use an inventory ID in different PLUs, right? If you use the concept of a recipe, you can have an inventory ID that is on different recipes.
So you see this one, like I just set up in my last session.
Sure.
So here, forget about the price for a moment. So PLU1 is attached to an item ID 1234. PLU2 also is attached to 1234. So it's one to many. The main inventory ID is attached to like two different PLUs.
Yeah, so it's one to many, right?
Yeah.
One to many can be 0, 1, or many, because you can have inventory IDs that are just assigned to support recipes and to support items, so they load on the train, and not all the sellable items in the train.
Yeah, no, I get that, Rafael. So what I think is this, whether you call it recipe ID or whatever, there is a master inventory ID, right? Which is a combination of different inventory IDs, right?
Correct.
So I think that is the Rupesh. That's the, whether you want to call it recipe ID or whatever, there is a concept of master inventory ID here.
Now the ball turns to their design. So
Rupesh, how would you map it, right? In that.
So hold on, Aditya. I want to hear from the Accenture team, right? Do you understand this master inventory ID? Who's actually speaking to this?
Krish, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, Ram. Okay, so I have an idea here. Quota, Rupesh, Aditya, everyone. Okay, I'm just sharing for 1 minute my screen, so everybody will get
Yeah, before you do that, 1 second, right?
Yeah. No, it will give clarity, Aditya. So okay, now we want to design dynamic 365 for all the items.
Yeah, sorry. One second.
Yeah.
So we had several conversations. What they started with a PLU. So they started using PLU to create the. So for example, for D365, released product is unique product. It has to be unique number. Correct. Otherwise, it will not go anywhere. It doesn't show any.
Yeah. Quota, that is the first thing. Release product is always 100% unique. There's no one way up. Yeah.
So what they started doing was they started using PLU master API to create release products.
Okay.
Then they realized, okay, PLU is multiple. Okay. One inventory can have multiple.
So if you pause there, the release product, if it is unique, it is like our inventory master ID that is unique in our case.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. So we'll get there, okay. So when they started doing that, then they realized, okay, PLU cannot be used for release product. Release product has to be unique. So then they switched to inventory master. Now inventory master is creating a released product. So, but
that PLU has inventory ID.
So when they are using inventory ID for release product,
when they were using PLU, does that PLU in the
not
API?
all the time. That's the problem. So now inventory IDs are always there. So now let's say they just dump inventory IDs into release products. So now we need to map inventory IDs to pricing, which is PLU. That's where we have disconnect. So sometimes if you don't have inventory ID in the pricing API payload, we'll have issues. Then and beginning inventory API payload we send, it has inventory ID, not PLU.
But in that case, PLU should always have inventory ID, right? Why is the inventory ID missing in PLU? So Rupesh, when we get all the PLUs, right, PLU master, all PLUs should have an associated inventory ID to that, because otherwise you will not be able to, even though whatever we say, it should backtrace to the inventory ID, right? Inventory master.
Yeah, so it will have a main inventory ID.
Yeah, because if you look at the menu which repo is displayed, right, there was an inventory ID
not
and a
true,
PLU.
Rupesh. Remember, you got over there
I agree
PLUs.
with that. Only one cases where like they've created a recipe and then they've attached it to support recipe. Support recipe is like bunch of ketchup, bunch of mixtures. They put it to a support recipe bucket. Today's.
Yeah, but we won't be doing anything with support recipes.
But we have to keep both systems alive at the same time.
So let's.
So we have to be careful.
Let's not conclude that you're going to ignore the support recipe for a moment.
Yeah, but also, guys, we just saw 1107 was a recipe ID, which is PLU ID.
Hey guys, can I interrupt here for a second? Accenture folks, if you don't need to be on this call, please drop and move on to something else. This is taking far too long to have this many people on the call.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop. Thank you.
So Chris, go ahead and show your example.
Yeah. Okay. So so our motive is, we need to create all.
One second, Krish. Shreyas, I need you in a different meeting.
Okay, so yeah, I'm in a different meeting now. So I just pinged 4006 is another example where inventory ID is null. If you need anything, Krish, from my side, you can ping me separately. Okay?
Okay. I will do that.
Dropping off.
I didn't understand it.
Wait. So whoever is showing those tables need to stay on this call.
That was Suresh.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to be here.
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? Because
We're not moving, right? So.
Magesh,
So why are people dropping off here? I mean, I thought we were trying to get to something important here. Who's deciding?
I need to have a discussion with Shreyas.
I'll come back shortly, Krish. Is that okay?
Okay, fine. So yeah, meanwhile I will explain this thing, Quota, to you. Okay. So.
Shreyesh, you have to be back, right? So you will be back.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Okay, yeah, we need you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Vivek, you are there, right? Okay. So
yes,
now our main motive is, we need to create all the items, okay, sellable or non-sellable. All the items should be available in Dynamics 365, right? This is where we are clear right now. I'm correct?
That is correct.
Quota? Correct. Okay.
But then, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean,
Okay.
the first objective is that you're going to bring not only sellable item, but you're also going to bring in the other items which I saw.
Other item as well. Yes, agreed. So this is our. So we all are agreed. So now, to create a released product, which in Dynamics 365. So let's say this is our ID 6001. This ID we are getting from inventory API. Okay. For this particular release product or inventory ID, we have menu ID. Let's say this is 606001, which we are creating as a barcode, PLU barcode in our Dynamics 365. Okay. So at MPOS, you can enter this item ID or you can enter this ID as well. System will bring you this item ID on cart. Is fine?
Can I ask you a question now? Are you ready?
Yeah, please.
So this item 60601, I'll be seeing in the, I'll be an LSA. I'll be seeing that in the wherever the button alcohol or whatever it is, right? And when they, and you in your design, you just have like this is a Budweiser or what Pepsi that is being sold. So you have just one item being listed in that as a product, right? That will be sold.
Yes, 6001. Yes.
Okay. What about the other items that we are sending as a part of beginning inventory?
Now, okay, I will come to that part later. Okay, so now what I'm saying is I need, so in our Dynamics 65, I need this item ID as a unique, okay, in my release product. So now to associate with this ID, I have one menu ID which we are calling as PLU barcode. Plus I have some UPC barcode like this. Maybe I have 10 numbers of other UPC barcodes which we are calling as barcodes. This is also fine. So at MPOS I can search with any of these barcodes. It will bring me this item ID on cart as a selling
You
item.
have also the barcode 6001, part of the barcodes?
Yes, this is also a barcode.
No, the 60, just the 6001.
Just 6001.
No, this is only item ID.
Yeah, this
first
will
one.
only item ID. Yeah. This is item ID. Yeah.
Stop you.
Yeah.
This is item ID only.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have a profile ID here. Let's say I'm just, for example, I'm putting 109, which is your alcohol ID.
So where is inventory ID here? Is it item ID is called item?
This
one.
So
yes, inventory ID and item ID is the same?
Yes, I am just marking it as a green so that, yeah, this is my inventory ID.
Are we going to have a problem there already? Because, I mean, inventory ID is 6001. On the menu items, you got 601 and 66001, and they got a different profile ID. Because so the 6001 might have profile ID 10, 66001 might have profile ID 110, not the same one as 6001.
Yeah, that's the problem we are facing right
many
now.
profile IDs for one menu ID, right?
One ID, yes, correct. So I will show you here where we get this thing. Yeah, here, I will show you.
So Rafael, one question, right? When we get PLUs, can we also return item ID for that PLU that is associated to that PLU in our API?
We're doing that.
We get nulls, right? But we get nulls, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, now because I said one example where they have a support bucket.
And you get a null inventory ID when the recipe, right now, what we return over there on the inventory ID, if the item, on the menu item, PLU/PLU, is sold as is, we're sending that inventory ID. If the menu item is sold as a recipe, we check the recipe table and check if the inventory items is flagged as main ingredient. If that inventory is flagged as main ingredient, then we put that on the inventory ID on that record. But if the recipe ID does not have any main ingredient or supports, then the inventory ID is going to be null.
But can you not give the recipe ID in that case, in that inventory ID?
The recipe ID is going to be there. The recipe ID over there. So let's imagine like this one over here. Sample over there, 610037. If 100037 is sold as is, you'll have our inventory ID 10037. But if a menu item 610037 on the recipe page, on the recipe table, we did not have a main ingredient there, you'll have over there this inventory ID is going to be null. The recipe ID field will have this ID, but the inventory ID is going to be null.
Yeah, but those for even for those recipes, for those support items, there should be some inventory ID. Every item in the system should have an inventory ID, right? Now we are not displaying in the Vim's UI, that is understandable, but from we can merge the tables and return that in the response back to the API. Because whether it is support item or not support item, revenue or non-revenue, we have the inventory ID for each and everything.
No, Aditya, we were sending as an array, but on the other side, like an Accenture side, they need one inventory ID, right, for that recipe.
Because then they could have stored that as a separate table.
There won't be a recipe.
Okay, so Quota, so my query was intention was, can we get this Excel sheet filled from your data with your data? So by that we will get to know what is the mismatch in this, Then we can build our query from different APIs to maintain this thing. So this is our requirement.
So guys, I know what is the issue, but we need to solve that issue. Issue is, if you read like straight away inventory ID or PLU ID, it will not solve the problem. So we need to have a logic where inventory ID is null and what should be replaced that inventory ID with, because it's not a main ingredient. Maybe I'm saying otherwise. So
no, you're correct.
So Quota, hold on. Yes. Rafael, can you, based on this structure, right? Can you maybe define that query in English terms? Should they start with the inventory ID, or should they start with the recipe ID? What should be the query here, right? The logic. And Rafael,
basically you start with the PLUs, right? You're selling PLUs at the register, and then PLUs, you define over there what inventory ID that PLU is using.
Right.
Because if you build up, if you're selling, let's say, PLUs, then you can have, the same inventory item in different PLUs. Different price, but you sell PLU 1 at $10, PLU 2 at $20, and both can use inventory 6001.
So you should start with PLU ID.
You sell inventory items, and then you're going to have a problem because inventory ID 6001 might have only one price.
Right. So the query should start with the PLU IDs?
Yes,
or where should it?
So, yeah, let's say query should start PLU and thinking in that route. So D365.
So hold on, Quota. I want Rafael to tell me how the query should be. Right, hold on, please, for a second. So Rafael, can you construct the query in English terms?
What query? Tell me what query. What query you trying to tell me to put it in an English term?
Yeah. So basically we want.
I can do a query. Let's say based on my example that if we sell PLU items. Based on the PLU items, we can say, okay, give me all inventory. Give me all of the PLU items that use inventory X, and then that PLU gives you all of the different PLUs / menu items that use a particular inventory ID.
Okay. And then how do you tie this to the recipe ID?
Well, the recipe, okay, again, from the menu items, the / PLUs, we figure out which, we had two flags over there. On the table itself, the item is sold as is, they need to plug in over there the inventory ID. If the inventory is sold as a recipe, they need to plug in the recipe ID. And then from the recipe ID, we go over there and say what is the main ingredient. Currently, based on the last request, you guys requested that the inventory ID would be not null if an item was flagged as inventory, and that's why we bring it across right now. But a menu item is sold, okay, so we know if the item is sold as an inventory or the item is sold as a recipe.
Okay.
I don't know, the web APIs that we have over there, we're sending you the recipes, and the recipes has all of the inventory IDs, whether it's main ingredient or support items. The recipes have all of the inventories that are used on that recipe. If nothing is flagged as a main ingredient, it has all of the inventory IDs over there.
Okay. So based on what you just said, right, I understand the logic should be check the inventory ID and check the corresponding PLU IDs. Come up with a unique association between the inventory ID and the PLU IDs and the pricing, right? The pricing is at the PLU ID level.
The pricing, yeah, all the pricing is done at the menu item PLU level. But
Right.
if you can you bring up the UI Rupesh and go into the menu details?
One second.
That's all of their pricing based on the menu item, not on the inventory. The selling price.
I'm going to take over this desktop.
Bring an item Rupesh that has a price. Bring an item that is doesn't have a price, like the water or something that we were showing yesterday, like for the gin and tonic.
We went through this a little bit. This is what you explained just now. Different PLUs that has a recipe ID, and recipe ID has bunch of inventory IDs.
Yeah.
And then it can also have bunch of other support recipe items too. And then there will be another PLU, like I can go to a Home Depot and there will be different PLUs which can be sold as just one inventory ID.
So, but we should start backwards, right? Start with the PLU, then look at what the corresponding inventory ID is.
Barcode to that. So I'm going to go to the...
So Rupesh, is that right? Should we start with the PLU?
Yeah, let me present WIMS. There are barcodes for different individual inventory IDs. Okay, you want to check Rafael on the inventory screen first?
Bring in menu detail, that's fine. Because we're selling, go to the menu details.
I'm going to go to Heartland Flyer, maybe. Yeah.
See over here, that's how, this ID over here, item ID, this is the menu item ID / PLU. And that's where it has the price over the currently they sell over here a price. They might have items over here that might not have a price, that might be water, or might be a condiment, or might be something that they add into a drink. If you are, like say, if you order like a gin and tonic, let's say if you don't want it with water, you can have it like with a cranberry juice or whatever. But those items, those menu items do not have a PLU.
Right.
And those all that get loaded into the train currently, or into the POS. That has a point of sale.
So
But still will have some inventory ID associated to that, right?
yeah, we'll go to, this is how the menu is created. You see this, these are all the PLUs buttons that is created in POS.
This item ID is a menu item PLU, okay? This is a menu item PLU.
Correct. Do you see that, Aditya?
A sub-recipe.
Yeah.
See over there, Rupesh, you see over there like cafe POS, what is that of? A flyer, okay, no, okay.
Pepperoni cheese pretzel.
The item ID 850459, the first one over there.
Okay.
That doesn't have a price, because probably that's a something that they provide to the guest as a compliment or free, something like that.
Correct. Which is, there is a question on Avanade side also, like why there is zero sale price, but this is a comp of.
If you go back now to the menu items or page, look at this item 850459.
Well, this is a comp of. I want to take a pepperoni cheese pretzel.
No. Whether it's a combo or not, that's a menu item.
Okay.
Go to the menu item. Just go to the menu items for 1 second.
It's always working. What is the problem with selling with PLU? We are saying inventory ID is null sometimes, right?
Yeah. Selling menu items, because they said PLUs there.
Yeah, like what? So you have to search for that comp.
Item, this menu item, you present there. Okay, it's sold as a recipe. Now go bring the recipe, and let's see whether the inventory item.
I just want to pause here. Do Aditya, do you see that this is a PLU item, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it's basically in WIMS. It is sold as a recipe.
Okay.
So that means.
Is there a main ingredient, or is there a main item there?
Yeah.
Let's check on that. Go to the recipe. I don't think it has a main ingredient.
Right.
You need to go to the recipes. Oh, okay, you're there.
You see, there is clearly a tea bag indicator which is as a main ingredient.
In all of the different inventory IDs, but it has a main ingredient. In the main ingredient, this inventory 5451, that is nothing to do with this PLU 85059.
Yeah. So Rupesh, the concept, like I just heard what Rafael said, the concept of recipe ID always matching with the main ingredient ID is not right.
Yeah.
Correct. It is not always right. I mean, it can have many other item that is attached. And we have in this example we have also a support, not only recipe, we have a support recipe item.
The support recipe page, Rupesh, I'm bringing item 30.
So the recipe, and then there is a support recipe. If I search for support recipe ID 30, there will be a bucket of support recipes.
So all those inventory items get assigned to that. And I mean, most likely on any car trip, you're going to have all this information as part of the beginning inventory. Those values are going to have quantities there.
Correct. Yeah, that's the gap I was talking about, right?
Exactly.
And that's why you guys are saying every item, everything that we put onto the train has to have a unique item identifier.
Exactly, and that should be in the release product, tying back to.
No, but is that in the beginning inventory? Is this having a unique?
Yeah. Beginning inventory, T bags will be 200 count will be loaded.
Yeah, loaded. But right now, so Chris, Camilla, for in your design in D365, don't even get this item because this is a recipe concept. So even though it is a sellable revenue and all, so this is not inventory ID, this is not a menu item ID based on how you are creating a released product. So and this will be in your beginning inventory API. You will create a transfer order for this. So that is the gap I was talking about.
Yes.
When you create a beginning inventory transfer order and you don't have a released product, everything gets messed up.
Correct. You're correct.
So it looks like we have to return all the menu IDs, recipe IDs, and all that in the response. And if one is missing, take this. The other is missing, take that. Something.
You should have that logic.
Stitch it. Then whether it is a recipe or combo or whatnot, it doesn't matter because eventually we are stitching with the keys,
so,
IDs.
Exactly. So bottom line is this 5,000 number, whatever number, this should be in the released product. Otherwise, nothing will work for them because otherwise this product does not go into any transfer orders, any.
Yeah, I get that. But we have to tell them.
Krish.
We have to tell.
So Rupesh, what you're saying here, when we
I'm clear on our side. We can give them, but let's see what their response is.
So before that, right? Can you show us how can we give it to them so that they can then we will fill their Excel sheet.
So it is very clear, Aditya. You have to provide a recipe ID. You have to provide the main ingredient. You have to provide the PLU, right? And the menu item ID. All of them has to be.
I get it, Ram. But then we have to also define if you find this as null, use this ID. If this is null, use this ID.
So there has to be a logic, yes. Yeah. If it's null, then.
Yeah, Rupesh, if you define the data structure for such in the menu that you are looking at, right? Define a data structure for that, and we will fill that for them in the Excel sheet. So that way, we will tell them the logic that hey, if that ID, inventory ID is missing, use menu ID. If menu ID, hypothetically, I'm saying, if that ID is missing, use the next ID.
Correct. I mean, still.
No, but I think Rafael you should take Rafael's help on navigating that.
They use inventory ID. Why would it ever be missing? We can't put it on the train if it doesn't have an inventory ID, right?
For some PLUs, inventory ID is missing.
Based on how we are sending the data.
I thought I heard us say that we were going to create, that we were going to insist that every item that we're going to put on a train will have an inventory ID.
We want that.
Is that what I said? Isn't that what you said at the beginning of this call?
Yeah, but then we are not sending the data that way, right? So that's the gap. We have to send the PLU with inventory ID and make sure it is not null.
Yeah, we are going to not send one inventory. We are going to send all the inventory IDs.
So do we need to fix WIM so it never sends
without
an inventory ID?
That is the problem.
The problem started because of the setup in D365.
Say that again, please, Rupesh.
The problem started is because it is tied to a unique inventory ID. But here and for a recipe, it's not just tied to one inventory ID. It has to be an array.
No, but the point is, even if that is an array, right, eventually each of those items will have inventory ID, Rupesh, right?
Correct. We are going to send each of the inventory ID.
They can flatten the array if inventory ID is there, that for this menu, this is the inventory ID. There will be duplication of menu IDs there, but there will be unique item ID along with that.
Absolutely. We can send exactly what is designed in WIMS.
Okay, so can you create that data structure so that we can explain them right away? So can you go to an Excel sheet or copy this structure and create a structure for them so that they can understand in the notepad itself?
Yeah, but let's, Rafael, is that the right way of doing this? I mean, I'm just still not.
The right way, I don't know what is the right way, because first of all, I have no idea how the new POS works, okay? So I couldn't tell you what information is needed on the POS, on the new POS.
So Rafael, to answer that question, let me add it here so you may understand. So they need inventory ID or PLU or recipe, not everything, as a unique identifier in the released products. For example, based on our understanding here, everything, even its recipe or PLU, should have an inventory ID associated to it. And if we can provide that relation, so what they're calling a released product is, they should have one unique identifier of a product in their released product table. Then only they can do all kinds of out-of-the-box features. So the question is what we can use as a unique ID without losing the PLU relation and recipe relation. We still be able to sell that item if it is sellable, or if it is not sellable, we'll just have some consumption in T-logs data and all. So where do we start with that? Like, just imagine, okay, you want to provide unique ID. Which one?
Well, let me ask this. If we start, let's say, you start with the PLUs, right? You create a unique IDs for the PLUs. Those are unique IDs. Inventory IDs are unique IDs for just the inventory. PLUs, menu items, PLUs are unique IDs. Recipes are unique IDs. A menu item that you sell on the train, either is sell as it is, which uses an inventory ID, which is unique, or uses a recipe. The recipe might have a main ingredient that they sell over there with the main ingredient, but also that recipe can be all support items that, I mean, probably they don't charge any price for that. So where do you start? I mean, let's say, I don't know how flexible the POS is, or what are the things you can add over there to the POS, even if you don't have the concept of a recipe right now. But I mean, you can have a menu item that is that you have over there for that is loaded on a particular cart trip, and that menu item is flagged as a recipe, but the recipe doesn't have any main ingredients. So it's going to be on the record, but the inventory ID is going to be null because we do not have a main ingredient flagged.
So that one also should go to released product for them, because we will send that item in the beginning inventory payload. So that's one of the main gaps they have. So this item recipe where it doesn't have inventory ID should get into their released product.
So Quota, let me explain this and let's see if people like this, right? So you start with PLU ID. You pick the inventory ID and PLU ID. The inventory ID plus PLU ID makes it a unique combination. And then you check for recipe ID. If recipe ID exists, then recipe ID plus inventory ID plus PLU ID makes it a unique key. If it does not exist, then the PLU ID, recipe ID plus PLU ID becomes the menu ID, inventory ID plus the PLU ID becomes the unique key.
Yeah, if it is null, then it is the inventory ID that is.
Inventory ID and the associated PLUs, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where they're, yeah.
Exactly. So that logic has to be in their side.
Yeah, you can put that logic, right? I mean, I want to hear from the Accenture team. Is that what they've gathered?
Yeah, that's what I want to hear from them, not from the API side.
For 1 second, okay?
Yeah, but then they have
to understand how they want to map. So for example, let's say we're sending something, so they picked up a PLU and they inserted a PLU item which does PLU. This product. There is no inventory, but we need
I like the music.
The orchestration of the API.
The only thing that they won't have ever should be a recipe ID. They should always have a inventory ID. They should always have a PLU.
No. PLU and it has to be there, but there is no inventory.
Sold as a recipe. They're not having inventory ID on that. That's maybe the problem also.
So no, I tell you, I understand what you're saying. So you're already talking about. So in that case, our data structure should return inventory ID as null and recipe ID as true. Within the recipe ID, there should be some inventory ID.
That recipe ID could have multiple items.
Yes. So we store PLU, become one PLU item. New item. The composite of field will be converted.
Item is a recipe.
Excuse me, we can hear some music, Quota.
Yeah, there's somebody
Somewhere. From us. Maybe.
Whoever's on hold, would you put them on mute, please? Mute, please.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So when there is it's sold as a recipe, right?
No, you start with PLU, right? If PLU is there and inventory ID is there, we are good. Correct?
We are good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And PLU is there and inventory ID is not there, we check recipe ID.
No, hold on, Aditya. Then the support inventory ID could be there. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that will be an array, I understand. That's what I'm saying. Store the flattened structure of the array against that PLU. The combination of that will give you the uniqueness. All we need to do is uniqueness and some connection back to WIMS. So the array that we return will have some inventory IDs within that multiple items that you said, right? So pluck the inventory ID from that array along with the PLU and repeat it for each item.
For which of the 15 items? Oh, okay, so you're creating a whole bunch.
Yes.
Got it.
That way, everything goes as a release product as well as there is a unique combination within your database.
Boy, that list will be very, very long.
Doesn't matter.
So there are 3 cases of PLU or menu item.
Yeah, that's how it should be. So, and we should tell them what is the orchestration of APIs.
Correct.
Okay.
So Rupesh, can you just in your screen can you mention all the kind of ID? No, in that notepad itself.
Guys, can you mute, guys?
Rupesh, on your same notepad, can you mention all kinds of IDs that we have? We have PLU, inventory ID, menu ID, recipe ID, support recipe ID. Can you mention that? Yeah.
And also associated API, Rupesh.
Yeah, we will wait. First, let's see what all IDs we have. And then we will sort it in the order.
API, okay.
Yeah. So we have PLU ID, we have inventory.
Okay, so
PLU ID. PLU ID.
So write the logic, right, first in English, right? Just say.
We will eventually, once we know what all IDs we have, we will write the logic.
PLU ID one, and then there is the inventory ID, right?
Inventory ID, right? Right. And then we have recipe ID and recipe ID. We have menu ID. We have support recipe ID. Yeah.
PLU ID is same actually.
Fine. Wait. Just keep all the IDs, right? And who's sharing? Yeah, menu ID, right? You have 5. Menu ID.
So you have menu item ID, right? Sorry.
That's the menu, right? So now what Ram is saying, let's put the logic. So let's say we have PLU ID and inventory ID. After line, the first case is PLU ID is present and inventory ID is present.
No, it depending on which API we are calling.
Yeah, we will put that also. First, let's put the combination.
API we can do later. So PLU ID is PLU ID is there. PLU ID will always be there. Remember.
Correct. And put and there. Put and inventory ID. Right. This is the first combination. Correct. Now, in this case, inventory ID, if this is present, we are good. Now,
this is always present.
Huh?
This is always present. PLU ID and inventory ID, that will be like always present.
Present where? Present where? Like menu item master or inventory master or beginning inventory?
Oh, you're talking API?
That's the problem, right?
Yes. So assume Rupesh, they've got this data, right? They've orchestrated the APIs, they've got all this data, right? At which point do they have the PLU ID and inventory ID?
So PLU, all information come from this API, menu item master.
PLU.
Okay.
Now
inventory ID comes from the other API, right?
Yeah.
Inventory ID, but inventory ID field is also there in menu item master, and it shouldn't be. I mean, there is a scenario where inventory ID is blank in menu item master.
Let's not talk about scenario. I know inventory API is there, which is the master API, right? And it has the inventory ID in that. I'm keeping it outside here, okay?
Yeah. So inventory ID always has inventory ID. That API. You get inventory ID for.
But not the PLU ID, right?
No.
So that is the problem, that we are not able to stitch the PLU ID and inventory ID because they are coming in two different APIs. So Rupesh, you understand, right? This is the relationship. In our case one itself.
I understand, but I see the limitation on that side. So.
Yeah. Right? So we have to bridge that gap first. So if we have, who's changing the screen? Okay. So in the case one, we have PLU ID, but we don't have.
So sorry, can you put UPC and barcode as well in this list? So I just want to have that scenario.
This is me, I'm doing RAM, sorry.
On the top, you should put near the support recipe ID, even the UPC and barcode, right? Just so that we're all clear.
Same thing, barcode, right? So.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have PLU ID and we have inventory ID, we are okay. The problem is when we have PLU ID but we don't have inventory ID. That's the problem.
No, but how about the pricing? Do you retrieve the pricing now or later?
Yeah, pricing.
Because inventory ID is null, Ram, we can't retrieve the price. So the price is coming from that second API.
No, the price is coming from this.
From menu item master, right? It's coming from menu item.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So prices do not come from the menu master, Rupesh. Prices, because the prices are based on a card trip. They come from
it's coming from the load, right?
The prices come from the PLU, the PLU web API, POS.
For a given trip.
Second API.
For a given trip. So I think now we need to start doing this like inventory API master, right? You have that note right side. So add that this has inventory ID.
I'm just putting the third API, okay?
Remember, the prices are for the menu item. The prices are not for the inventory item.
Correct.
Yes.
Prices are for the menu item, not for the inventory.
So Ram,
so the price you put over there on the menu master.
The trick.
Yeah, that's fine. We are okay with the pricing, guys. So let's continue.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay. So I have to put logic here.
Yeah. So the case we have problem is when we have PLU ID and no inventory ID, right? In that case, can we return along in the second API, that if inventory ID is null, we give them the other inventory IDs.
No, but wouldn't you? Sorry, Aditya. Wouldn't you check for all of that first? First, you look for recipe ID, all the IDs, and figure out which. So that condition has to be first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is case one. One is a recipe. If there is a recipe ID.
No, but before this, right? You retrieve all the IDs, right? First. Or do you start with the inventory and PLU ID? Sorry.
Actually, Ram, retrieving IDs depends on what case it is. Yeah. Because if it is sold as is, the data will come in inventory master API. You can.
Okay. Got it.
Like that.
So
it's a scenario, right? Scenario based.
Yeah. We are basically trying to derive the logic, Ram, here.
In this case, sold as is, inventory ID is never null.
It is never null, correct.
So use inventory API for that.
No, wait.
Sorry. I got you. Sorry.
So
on the second scenario, put over there, Rupesh, inventory never know if inventory is set as flag as main ingredient.
Case one.
Second case. No, case two. On case two, put over there, inventories never know if if a recipe has a main ingredient.
And recipe has
an inventory flag as main ingredient.
Main ingredient true?
Yeah, true.
Set to true, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't really actually now looking at this, Raphael, we really don't need that because
well, the information is on the web APIs, and on case number 3, Rupesh, is that the inventory is going to be null because recipe does not have any item flag as main ingredient.
Okay, so that is coming from the API. I'm just trying to flag.
Third one is recipe ID, but the main ingredient flag will be false.
Okay, are we clear on case 1?
Yes. Sorry, anybody from Avanade has question on case 1? Avanade and Accenture?
That's working today.
Suresh or Vivek, like?
No, yeah, I'm good. No questions for case 1.
Okay, good. All right, Rupesh, case 2, right? Now we have PLU ID, but we don't have inventory ID, right?
No, case 2 you'll have an inventory ID if the main ingredient is flagged. If there's an inventory flag as main ingredient on the recipe.
I'm putting a if condition here, okay?
Put over there if okay. Equals to true in recipe. You can put over there Rupesh over there in recipe so that they can understand this. So it makes a little more sense.
Yeah, what was I saying?
Okay, main ingredient is set to true in recipe.
Yeah, main ingredient in recipe. Well, that.
In recipe, yeah.
Well, I'm just keeping it. That's a note, not a.
And the inventory is not going to be null. Inventory is not going to be null. And in case 3 is the opposite of that.
Hold on, there is one more case on this, right?
Yeah. In this case, main ingredient should be false.
The main ingredient is going to be true, right?
No, if main ingredient, there is no main ingredient set. There is a case, Raphael.
Okay, yeah.
Case 2 has 2 if conditions, 2 if and else, right? If there is if, there should be else.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That should, how we handle different, but it will be there.
Else should be there.
So here,
null.
food and beverage hasn't set anything as a main ingredient.
Yeah, and inventory is null, okay.
Yeah, Rupesh, to Raphael's point, then case 2 should be split. Because in case 2, you said main ingredient flag is set to true. There can be a contra in that case.
No, I didn't get you. What are you saying? Can you repeat that?
No, on case 2, line 1, right?
Yeah.
To Raphael's point, right? You said recipe has a main ingredient flag set to true.
Yeah.
Right? Then it will never be set not true, right? It has to be a case 2A or...
Yeah.
Raphael, that's what you were trying to say. Yeah.
So Raphael was saying...
I think what he's saying is query the status of main ingredient flag instead of saying true, right?
Correct.
It should be a filter criteria, right?
Yeah. So if whoever is consuming that, if query this like if main ingredient equal to true, then we definitely have a inventory ID.
So in the parenthesis, right, you have true on the top. Just drop that.
Line number 47. Line number 47. Take out true there.
Take out the parenthesis.
47.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so case 2 where it is not set.
Yeah, not set means it is false, right? Just put false there.
This will be an else. Okay, main else.
Else, yeah, it's an if and else.
Yeah, kind of else you can say.
And also there's another flag over here page that is supporting if it's going to be set to true. But
another if else.
Right, should be else if.
Else if, yeah.
Yeah, this is else if.
Else.
I'm going to else if, okay?
No.
Should be case 3.
Yeah, do else if on top also. Yeah, right, continuous. Yep. Else if, yep.
Yeah, yes.
Another else if.
Now, next else if. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Raphael.
Okay.
So in that second else if, recipe ID is null or recipe ID is present?
No, we are saying the recipe ID is there.
Always, in case 2, okay.
Yeah.
So the only 2 cases will be ingredient can be false or true and inventory can be present and not present, correct?
Yeah, and recipe ID is never null, by the way, if it is sold as a recipe. You know.
Okay, recipe. Okay.
You're
If
saying?
it's sold as a recipe, inventory ID is null, right?
No. What is saying that recipe ID when it's null, but recipe ID will never be null because it is a recipe. It's not sold as is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which payload we are looking? If you look at recipe payload, yeah, it never be null. If you look at a PLU payload, yes, this can be null.
Yeah, right. Rupesh,
Okay.
when we call PLU, right, with PLU recipe can be null because there can be recipe or there cannot be recipe, right?
Yeah, the PLU can be a part of a recipe or not be a part.
In the case 1.
Reverse, yeah. No.
In case
That's
one,
all
recipe
these
is going to be
cases, yes,
recipe ID is going to be null.
Yeah. We are, Rupesh, in this case, we are making sure PLU ID is always there, right? Now the
PLU
debate
ID is always there.
yeah. So the second step is the recipe ID may be there and may not be there. Now, if recipe ID is there, this main ingredient flag can be true or false. If it is true, we are saying inventory ID will always be there. But
So
we are saying
recipe ID is also null in the first case, right?
Yeah, recipe is null over there in the first case.
yeah. Yeah, now it makes sense. Yes. And in case 2, can you put recipe ID is never null?
It's pretty self-explanatory, but you can put it.
It's a true condition, right?
Yeah.
It's a true condition, so don't worry about that. Yeah, leave it.
More if condition will create more conflict. Okay, so the third if, else if. Do we have a third else if?
So in the second else if when inventory ID is null, what were you saying, Raphael?
No, I was saying over there, I mean, on this over here, the second else if, the first else if the main ingredient is not set, the inventory ID is null, and there is a flag called is supporting is supporting is going to be true.
Okay,
So
put that flag.
second over here, the first else if, not the last one, on this one, that one, press enter.
Create a if condition within this else if that flag is true.
No, over here you don't have to put an if, just put over there is supporting is going to be true. So they can check also that flag.
Yeah, is support flag is true, is Y.
Yeah. On the second one, the inventory ID is null. That's fine. Go to line 56 and put over there is supporting. That item is that flag is support. No, not an if. Just is supporting.
Is supporting is a flag here or no?
Okay. Oh no, it's not over here. I'm sorry. No, it's not. No, it's that's not. No, it's not.
That's why I caught you.
Yeah. Never mind. It's on the other one. Yeah.
Which one? So this is what we have to give in the same API, I think.
So what happened to profile ID? We are not using the profile ID here yet.
Yeah, profile ID.
Yeah,
You
profile
have to put it on the top. Put it on the top. Yeah. Okay.
So Raphael, is supporting is not here.
No, it's not there. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was on. Yeah, you can. That's fine because this tells you whether it's a main ingredient or not.
So, but Raphael, how would you handle? Right, there's a support menu, right? Then, if the main ingredient is not there, it's a support menu.
No, if the main ingredient is false, it's a support exactly. So that's basically this over here. You don't need to do anything else over there, right?
I can say we can add.
Just say this is a support item. This is a support menu or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you don't need that. I mean, by default it's a support item.
Yeah.
I mean, we can put a flag. That's not a problem.
No, don't put a flag. You just say, because then that's an additional work for them, right? Just say handle it as a support item in the column and in the comments. Handle it as a support item.
But Ram, that support item can be multiple. It won't be just one. It will be array here.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So, but they don't have. I mean, the team does not have a concept of a support item, right now.
So Ram, we need support item also in the product catalog. We need that to be as a part of release product as well, right? Because if we are out of that, we would need those as well, right?
We can't put it on the tree if we don't.
Yeah, we need all of them in the release product.
Yes, we need all.
No, they need. Okay, the question is: this is the main menu item master. the main menu item master does not get loaded on each card trip. On each card trip, only a subset of the main menu item master gets loaded into each card trip.
So this is
that's fine, Rafael. That's fine. That is your beginning inventory, but we are defining a logic for their master load, like a released product load.
But again, remember, this is the menu item master. This is the master all of the menu items that Amtrak has set up over there. On a given card type, they don't sell all of those menu items. They might sell only a subset of those menu items.
So that is true. What we want is
on the menu item master, you might have, let's say, 1,000 items. On a given card type, you might sell only 100 of those. But the other ones you don't need over there.
No, that's why we want you to return us the support item ID here, so that in this scenario we maintain a table where we can associate that support ID with any number of items in that. And they can use that as the inventory ID support.
No. Okay, hold on. Well, so Quota, so the beginning inventory would be a subset of the menu master, right?
Correct. It's subset of the inventory master actually, because beginning inventory is inventory IDs, not the PLU IDs. So, but going back to Ram, that Rafael's thing, yeah, you are correct. It is per car type, per trip and all, but we have to have this in the master list of the released products. That's what we are trying to do. Yes, whenever they create the trip association, they will associate with whatever the ID you are sending in the beginning inventory with the released product ID.
Yes. So Ram, basically all those items in that beginning inventory should be in the released product.
Correct.
Yes. Even the support item should be in the release product.
Exactly.
Okay, can we, in this case,
if you query the web API RMF, you got all of the inventory items for that given. If the menu item is flagged as a recipe, okay, on the RMF web API, you got all of the inventory items that make up that recipe.
No. Before that, Rafael. So Rupesh, if you put, instead of putting support inventory array, just put support inventory ID here, and we can give them. And we can give them an API to give all the items for that support ID.
Yeah,
that is
that. I'm just trying to put 3 things here.
So that your child last root or last child.
So and Rafael, hold your thought. They're not using RMF API. We'll come to that.
This has everything, okay? Support and all.
No. I understand that you guys are not using the recipes. But what I'm saying over there, if you want to know over here on this menu item, what are all of the inventory IDs that make up that recipe, I mean, you can query this RMF file, and you can, associate that ID with this menu item to get all of the inventory items. That, because this menu item has a lot of items. If we're going to add all of the support items, it's going to grow a lot, and you're going to get a lot of data back.
That is what I'm saying, right? Rupesh, don't put an array there. Just put support inventory ID here. You don't need an array here.
There's not one item. Remember, there's more than one.
No, one can be 0, 1, or many.
Yeah, but your support the ID to stitch all those many items will be 1, right?
No. But what you'd say is select all support inventory IDs.
No, support inventory ID will be 1 RAM against all this, right? How can we have multiple support inventory IDs?
No, that's not, you're confusing it. The support ID versus there is support ID, and support ID has many inventory IDs.
Many inventory.
That's what I'm saying, right? So you can maintain the relation of support ID to inventory ID somewhere, but in that one, just return the support ID.
Exactly. What Aditya is saying is to make it release product unique, have these inventory IDs returned in this. But what Rafael is saying is, why don't you use RMF?
Yeah, we'll come there, but this is just the logic, right?
Okay.
Just the logic for now. Let's figure out how we can.
So delete the inventory IDs array here. We don't need that, right? Because this is the end of the hierarchy that we have in WIMS. So delete inventory IDs from here.
Why? Where are you going to get those inventory IDs?
Because for that support ID, either we can give them an API, otherwise this.
You're creating more work. Yeah, if you can want to do.
No. We will put it. Wait, I'm not creating work, right? I'm trying to keep the logic clean. You can put it somewhere else, but we don't need that inventory IDs here, because with support ID itself,
you can pull the inventory.
I'm just going to put comments here like.
You need this association.
Yeah.
It will be.
Yeah, there must be a mapping table between support ID and inventory.
ID and the associated inventory ID.
Yeah.
In that support ID. So this is the end of. We don't have any other IDs, right? So these are pretty much all the IDs.
How about the profile ID?
That is part of PLU, right?
Profile ID is part of PLU. So
what happens if that is null?
That is never null.
Now the assumption is here is PLU ID is always there. The null is coming because our mapping is not working.
No, okay. In this the PLU, the profile ID is never null.
No, it was because of the left join. It didn't have a corresponding.
No, they are joined. Yeah, they are joined. Yeah. But in the API, it is never null.
In API, in API it is never null.
Am I correct?
Yeah, but the association between between the two APIs, inventory master and menu item, it was null because of that.
So my ID is missing. That's why you'll get a null record.
Yes.
So go back to that notepad, Rupesh. So guys from Accenture and Avanade, any question on this?
Like Shreyesh or who was actually tracking this?
Yeah, so I mean, so far it is good, but I want to go ahead. I mean, the next question would be on the design of API and how we are going to get data. For
come there, but do you understand from?
So how would you? So okay, hold on. Shreyesh, can you tell me how you would modify your querying now? What is the logic and how you would orchestrate this quickly at a high level?
See, till now, I have what I've understood. We have to create release products for everything that you are selling or you are sending us for beginning inventory. And now, I mean, unless you give us the link between the two APIs or inventory ID null is equal to 0, how I'm going to identify, how I'm going to relate menu item API and inventory master, that point is still missing.
No, but so, if you look at the screen, that is what we explained, right? Now we'll put into which field you are getting from which APIs. But that is the relationship that is missing there. Case 1, case 2. So that is what we just did, right?
So but Aditya, you have to help.
Recipe ID. So let's say recipe ID. If inventory and ID is null, we will have a recipe ID. But is this recipe ID to another? How this is related to inventory master?
It's not inventory master. It is menu item master.
Yes. So it is in menu item master. I need to relate this while I'm creating a product.
Okay. So look at line number 52, right? So you are good with case 1, right?
Yes.
Now let's
hold on, Aditya. So case 1, the inventory is never null. The recipe ID is null. He gets a PLU ID. Does he immediately create an entry in the release product table?
Yes, he should.
So Shreyas, you're clear about this, right? You'll just go populate the. And
yes.
That will become so put in there. It becomes a release. Can you put that comment here? Becomes a release product.
And Aditya, better can we take one example ID just for reference, then it will give more clarity.
Yeah, we will eventually. We will also give you API names also. There is some RMF API, but will come. But just to understand, right, the hierarchy of logic.
Yeah, sure.
Do that.
So the same line you can apply to right underneath line 56.
Yeah.
Okay. Second case, can you, Krish?
No, Shreya.
Okay.
Yep.
So 56, you have to put a comment there. Becomes a release product.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them. Like in this case, what they have any questions? So.
No, so first case is good if main ingredient.
So hold on,
is equal to...
hold on, sorry, but you don't know what a recipe ID is currently, right?
In case 2, Ram, recipe ID will be there. In case 1, recipe ID will not be there.
No, but they don't know at this point in.
They have a recipe ID.
They have from this.
They are not storing recipe ID in any table today.
Right. So Shreyas, have you seen that? I mean,
recipe ID is coming from menu item, and I've seen for it is not null. So in a situation, you can put a So
product recipe ID is null here.
So can you search on inventory ID null, and you will see there is a product recipe ID.
Yeah, we'll go. This explains the case too.
That will be the else if on the second case.
Correct. You're saying inventory ID. So there are 352 results, okay?
But look over there, scroll down a little bit, Rupesh, and look over there what is the main ingredient. It should be false.
Main
That's why we're
ingredient
looking at the main
false.
ingredient.
Shall I go to the case?
So one second, Rupesh. So which means the recipe ID can be the released product here? In this case?
No. This is
Over there, that case has all support items, yes.
You got it, Quota?
So, yeah, could you explain one more time, please?
Okay, so in this case where the inventory ID is null, you have a recipe ID.
Yeah.
And you check the main ingredient is false, means that they have support items. That's why inventory ID has come null.
That means that on the recipe, not any inventory item has been flagged as main ingredient. That's what it means. There's no main ingredient inventory flag.
To get the inventory IDs, they have to query the support ID.
Okay, so that's where you get your release product, guys. So you have to go to support ID.
Support recipe ID.
So Quota, I'm hanging up. I'll have to go, but you can continue, Prasad, on this. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so now this support recipe ID is, which API will we get this from?
We don't have but I thought we were going to add as an array, but if you don't, you go to an ID, then we can create a simple API to get those IDs. Another API, okay?
So yeah, that's correct, Rupesh, because we have to think in terms of how they orchestrate this also.
Correct.
For example, they are calling inventory ID first. Then they are coming to they're reading one inventory ID and trying to look up related PLUs and related recipes, related support, all that.
Correct.
So now first they will call inventory master, then they come to PLU master, right, Rupesh?
Yeah.
There you can, from there they can go to support recipe IDs from a different API.
Correct.
If you are in the second else if situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, basically if you are in case 1 and case 2, first if you are good, you will always have an entry ID, right? Now your third edge case is else if main ingredient is false, recipe ID is not null, and inventory ID is null. In that case, you go and fetch the support recipe ID. So what it means is,
so you'll get, by the ID, you'll get all the inventory that is included in that support ID.
Yeah.
But that's the challenge, is that could have a list of 20 items. In fact, I'll bet if we looked at it, that one would, because that was an auto-train bulk.
No, that's what I'm saying. Right now, what should happen, Rupesh, what should happen is, in the second menu inventory, not menu, that inventory, where do we get this recipe ID and which API is that?
Recipe ID is the menu item master.
Can we return support recipe ID to them?
We can add, we cannot add it. We can add a support ID actually.
We can write support recipe ID.
Yeah. But
Can we add?
Several questions opens up here. One is what Ram left with a question is that do they have or like that they're using the recipe ID, and if yes, how they're going to use the support recipe ID?
Yeah, we will come there, right? But if you go back to the API, can you return support recipe ID in that? If you go to the API, can you return support recipe ID here?
Yeah.
Does the support recipe have a recipe number, or is it simply a flag?
Support recipe ID is an ID, like say 30.
Have an ID.
It has an ID.
So 30 corresponds to 20 items.
For support recipes, you can have one or many IDs.
Correct.
So
I get it.
You will have.
Yes, we are good with that. So go back to the notepad, Rupesh. So Shreyas, basically in this case, right, in your second table, you should also store support recipe ID, and for all the support recipe IDs, you should query and get all the item against that and store it in a separate table.
Yes. So in this case, do you want?
UI for 1 second, Rupesh?
Go ahead,
please.
Yeah, what is the question?
Go back to the UI for 1 second.
Yeah, that's what before you think I was going there, so.
And bring that, over here, go back to the recipe, not the support recipe. Go back to the recipe. And bring out any recipe. Bring out recipe 850459. That's the one we looked before.
069 or 49?
850459.
Oh, your memory is good.
See, like this also, those will be considered support recipes because they're not part of the main ingredient. So all those items, 9805, 91015, 91505, they're going to be also considered support recipes, including this number 30 over there, which has also a lot of other inventory IDs.
Can you say that again, Rafael?
That this recipe, when only one inventory is flagged as a main ingredient, the rest becomes part of the support recipe, support items. So these 9805, 9115, 91505, and all of the inventories that are on this support recipe 30, if we return, we have to return all of those inventory items because on the beginning inventory, all of those inventories are going to have a quantity.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. Go back to the notepad, Rupesh. So to solve that, Rafael, what we'll do is all these support recipe IDs that we have, we need to store that, and along with that, all the item IDs in that in a different table.
And then the question is over here on the else if, over here, case number 2, else if the inventory is null, do we just give you an array of all of the inventory items that are set on that recipe except the main ingredient? Because the main ingredient, there's no main ingredient over there. But what happens on case number, when the inventory is flagged as true, you can have also a lot of inventory IDs over there.
All
When
the additional items.
When we have an item flagged as a main ingredient, you can have also a bunch of other inventory IDs over there.
Okay, so then line number 56 should be array of inventory IDs, Rupesh.
The inventory ID was an array.
So either an array over there and also on the bottom we need an array in inventories.
It's all in one API.
If we're API, or just on the same API, menu item master, I mean, we can return all those, but that menu item is going to grow a lot. You're going to have probably may have a lot of data coming across. You might have a similar issue with you're having right now with the inventory with the image.
No, we will not have Rafael, because if there is an array in line number 57, for that recipe ID, we should store another table. For that ID, we will have some list of inventory IDs. And when they pull the data, they query all the tables and create the release products out of it.
Okay, so
they will stage the data, Rafael. When they are reading APIs, they will stage it with the relation we are explaining them. So they will have a bunch of table with this relation. So when they create release products, they will map it accordingly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Shreyas, you see what we are saying. The change will be in case 2, first if condition. First of all, the change will be you will have an array of inventory IDs against the recipe ID. Okay. So you, I guess, and you can correct me and do whatever you want. But what I can see, right? You have to store a relationship of a recipe ID against inventory ID. And you have to store a relationship of a support recipe ID against recipe ID. So when you connect all the dots, you will get a unique combination from case 1 all the way till the end. You will get all the inventory IDs.
How do you avoid sugar packets being in 15 different PLUs?
We don't care, right?
No, they're mapping PLU.
Yeah. They have to bring it to their product.
How do you
if we're creating a new inventory ID.
Yeah.
Rafael, in this case, we have inventory IDs and also a support ID.
It will be in all of
They're mapping
them.
Consolidated?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you, the way they're mapping is this inventory ID can be associated with these many PLUs. So it can be how
Yeah, that
many
way your
number of
accounting will become easy as well, and you are not doing recipe at the same time you are doing it, but you are not doing it.
Okay.
So you understand, Shreya?
Remember to.
Yeah. Shreya, you see what I'm... No. Support ID is not here, right?
No, there is. I see here.
So we need also an array of support
Okay. It can have both.
Okay.
That's fine.
We need an array of support recipe IDs because it can be one, zero, one, or many.
Yeah.
The same thing on the bottom.
This is where I was going in the beginning. So
Rupesh, why don't you export your... No, sorry.
export what?
No, sorry. We are talking
Just
something
saying
else.
save it and just send it so that we don't forget it.
Oh.
Sorry, Rupesh. We are talking something else.
Suresh, you understand this now?
I understood, but line number 58, this will be through, okay, so there will be an API separately which will sending me the support IDs, right?
In the same API, you will get an array of support IDs against the recipe ID, an array of inventory IDs against the recipe ID.
Or what they're saying also, if they have a different API, if you pass the support ID, they can get the inventory ID. They want a new API basically.
Okay, so
copy line 58 are underneath over there to line 60, underneath 65.
What?
Copy line 58.
58 is support ID, right?
Correct, that's support ID. Copy that line to underneath line 65. So over there, even for
I have that. That's why actually we don't need this API because we will pass to an API. So you got it, Rafael?
But you can.
New API. So that by support ID they get the inventory ID.
But on the bottom, okay. See, but I see. So on the bottom one, you also need a support IDs, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
what happens over the recipe? Go back to the UI.
One more case.
Okay, so the first rate over there is going to give you those three ones over here: 9805, 91051, and 91505.
Correct.
And also, it's going to give you all of the inventories for number 30 in this case.
Correct.
So over here, I mean, over here we're going to.
Or you can give the IDs and they can query another API for the inventories. Okay.
Well, the inventory you already get. I mean, the inventory master, you can just get an ID at a time.
So basically, I'm saying like 30. If they pass, they'll get a.
But then they are right over there on top over there. I mean, that's just support. I mean, if they want to call it like that. But I mean, what this array inventory ID is going to have? It's going to have just the three over there on the part of the code to the UI.
We'll just have. No, because the support recipe is number 30, isn't it?
Yeah, the support recipe is number 30, but what about those three inventories over here, part of the main recipe?
Came from here. You're giving us this.
You're capturing
okay, so
that
on 3, only give you those three inventory IDs.
Correct.
Right.
And on the bottom, you will call web API that gives you those inventories for that support ID.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that LSIF on line 60. Did we just ignore line 30? Or item 30, support recipe 30?
No, what happens like Tom?
Stopping at 58?
No, some cases this is not set. I don't want to remove in production, but the main ingredient is not set.
I know, but when it is set, are we going to even bother looking for that support recipe?
Yeah, because we have to create a release product for those items. Right?
For all that.
And that's what I'm saying is, in your logic path here, we have to make sure that we don't ignore, just because we had something identified as the main item.
Oh yeah.
Don't ignore the sub recipe.
No, we are not. We are
getting everything. Both.
That's why you have 57 and 58. When you have that, and irrespective of, so Rupesh, in theory, you know what I guess Tom is saying. Copy line number 57, and also put it in line number 64.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is there can be cases where your main
There can be a case, it's very strange, but if FBI has missed some item to market, this can be a case.
Correct. So Suresh, you understand what we are doing, right? So we are
Yes.
So now your logical structure is totally very easy for you to understand.
Right. And can I also assume that all the inventory IDs through different conditions are going to be unique? So can I assume that?
Yes. Yes, the images have to be unique. The table does
all right.
Yes.
So
integrity violation will be.
Okay. So in AX, how I'm going to create right now, I'm mapping inventory ID as an item ID. So all the release products here are uniques. So all inventory IDs will be created as a release product here.
Yeah, but the thing is, your support IDs will also convert into some multiple inventory IDs. So basically,
I've not understood the point where support ID will.
So recipe has support IDs, right?
Yes.
Those will also get created as our release product.
Release product.
Which should
Because
be the ideal way.
support ID is nothing but a list of inventory IDs.
Yes.
So Rupesh, one second, guys. Rupesh, in line number 58, sorry, in line number 58 in the empty braces support ID, right? Can you copy inventory ID array in this braces? Yeah, copy inventory ID array. Yeah.
You want? No, this is a support ID you're passing, right?
Yeah, but in support IDs eventually will turn out as a inventory IDs for us. Bunch of inventory IDs under the support ID. Right?
But since we are getting a new API, they will be passing 30. The support.
Yeah. But when they create release products, right, they will flatten all the structure.
As long as they understand, but I'll add one statement till yesterday's evening, what Salim.
Put rectangle braces open and close.
Inventory IDs, right?
Yeah, and rectangle brackets open and close after ID.
Rupesh, go to the UI for 1 second, please, and go to the support recipes. I have to check because maybe I have to see if this option that a support recipe can be another support recipe, that you can add another support recipe over here. Let's say in this case we got 30, but let's see if we want to go up to 30, I can add 370 over there or 130. I don't know if that's done or was done like that for Amtrak or not.
Can you explain it? 30 is your ID, not just an ID.
No. Yeah, 30 is the ID. 30 is the ID, but over here instead of just adding an inventory item, I need to check to see if we can add another support recipe over here.
On this, yeah, we can, right?
No, okay, no, there's no way to add another support recipe. Never mind.
So right,
there's no update?
No, it's not there. No, it's completely separate. No, you're okay.
No, if I say create new, right?
No, yeah, but yeah, that's fine. Cancel that. Okay, never mind. Go back to the to Notepad.
Yeah, so for you, Rafael, there is not to change.
So the question over here in this array, are we going to return an ID? Are we going to create a new web API that gives you the support items, or you guys want to return the inventory IDs over here?
So if you can return inventory IDs here, that will be perfect. That way they don't have to create a new table, because anyway we have.
Then do the same thing on line 65. We need to return over there the inventory IDs.
Okay. You just want to return inventory IDs, right?
Array of inventory IDs here. So take out that API. We don't need an API.
And then let me ask you this: if line 57 has inventories and lines those part of the recipe also support items, why don't you just return inventory IDs over there? Why do you have a second line? Because at the end, 57 and 58 at the end, just inventory IDs, right?
No, but there can be duplicate inventory IDs which are also in the support, right?
No, which is good. You caught it. You can send a full list of inventory IDs one shot.
So, Rafael, will not be a case where we have inventory ID repeated in support ID, the same inventory ID?
I would doubt that, but I mean, I need to double check. But
looking at your data structure, I think that will be possible. We do it or not, that's a separate question.
Okay, then
you're saying like this, right? So like 8.5. What was that?
No. Go to stage, Rupesh. Don't go to production. Do this on a stage. Don't touch
My
production.
stage may not have that data.
Even if it doesn't have it, the idea is the same, right? I mean, even if it doesn't have it, the idea will be the same.
Yeah, production is good example. We get all cases like if and else case.
We're not changing anything anyway, Rafael. We're just looking at
but
it.
still, usually you don't want to do anything in production. Oh, that's my thinking. I mean,
Yeah,
production.
you might be right. If you're like if you're any locks you're putting to the table while doing an ad. Where do you want to go?
850459.
850?
850459. 0459.
10.
I think you put extra zero. You
too many zeros.
Yeah. Rupesh, concentrate.
Zero is not a value.
Do this, Rupesh. Go over there to support recipe items. And bring up 30. No, not over there. No, cancel that. Go to cancel that. Cancel. Go to the support recipe.
Go to support recipe, right?
And bring out support recipe 30. And now let's start over here. Click the add button. And I put over there add one of the inventory items that exist over there.
5045.
Put over there 9805. I believe that's the one. 9805. Press enter. And did you find it? Yeah, let's add that one over there. And add one. Click OK. Yeah, and then we can have the same duplicate items and support in somewhere else.
We can, right?
Yeah. Then the later now, Rupesh, 9805, the box carry-on. So then we'll send those separate then.
Correct. Yeah. That way they will have
separated.
Yeah. So that way they have a support ID added to the unique key for them when they create the product release.
Another thing is there might be multiple support IDs.
Correct.
Yeah, that is covered, right? So that is covered there.
But then we have another problem, because right, if you have multiple support IDs, some of them may have the same duplicate inventory ID.
Correct.
And why are you creating that? So that should be.
Do we care? I mean, do we care that they have the same duplicate ID? I think you just care about the inventory ID, right? Nothing else.
Yeah, based on release product, they need unique one inventory ID.
So I think we can get rid of the bottom one and just have a unique inventory IDs on the upper array on line 57. Those inventory IDs have to be unique.
Yes. So we can get rid of line number 58.
Yeah, get rid of line 58. Yeah, and we just get all the inventory IDs on as an array over there.
Yes.
Because the IDs have to be unique.
Basically, they don't need to consider any support concept.
Yep. We are going to flatten that for them. Yeah, this is good, right? It will make it easy.
So does it cover all the inventories? Are you sure? Does it cover all the inventories?
Yes.
Okay.
So this will be an array for you, okay?
All right.
So this will flatten you all the product recipe IDs and all that stuff in one and give you unique inventory ID.
Wait, Rupesh. Over there you say that's inventory ID. No, I mean that inventory ID cannot be there, right? You have to put a separate field over there, because that inventory ID refers whether it's sold as seeds or not.
Yeah.
Okay, you can put
or if the recipe has a main ingredient, and then on a separate field we need to put over there an array of all of the other inventory IDs.
Then you have to rename that to a different ID.
It will be like other inventory IDs, right?
We're going to have another flag over there, that whatever we call it, but it has to be another field over there as an array that shows all other inventories on that recipe, whether there's...
Yes.
So here, okay.
Shreyesh,
You can put add another, copy the inventory ID, put it on the bottom.
So basically, yeah.
And put over there other inventory ID, something like that.
Other inventory ID. And put that as an array.
Yeah, because the recipe can have a main ingredient, and then on the bottom you have other inventory IDs on that recipe.
Yes.
So this has a recipe, and then you will get all the inventory IDs from here.
Whether if it is a one inventory flag as true or not, I mean, you'll get all the inventory IDs over there.
Correct. So Suresh, sorry, are you done, Raphael?
Do we have to worry about profile ID at all?
Profile is from
No, profile is never empty.
Okay, so are you done, Raphael? You're good, right, Raphael?
If you guys are good with that, I guess.
No, wait, I'm going to the right guys who will say good or bad. So if you are done, then Suresh, are you clear with all this now?
Yes. One question I have in the array, what is the piece of information that I'm going to get? Do I get
inventory ID?
Yeah, because apart from inventory IDs, I also need, while I'm creating a product, release product, what should be the profile ID? What should be the POS button description? All these things I need.
That is in the inventory master, right? No. The ID that you will get in other inventory IDs, he needs information from line number.
What else you need information? Can you tell me?
Line number 68 to line number.
I'm asking sir, what information you need?
Okay, so while I'm creating a product, some of the things, for example, profile ID is coming from menu item ID. So what should be the profile IDs of inventory for the line number 80? You are sending me a list. Does it list also contain profile IDs?
No, the profile ID is for the product. I mean, for the school like PLU that you are doing. It's
all right. And what about?
So basically line number 69 to 78, it repeats for all those inventory IDs.
All right. So they are going to have the same item name. Do you mean that?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
That's what you're
item name is same. Item, yeah, basically. So Shreyesh, how you are going to use this information is, we are creating association between inventory and PLU and support and all, right? So for you don't use, I mean, when you create released products, you create for all inventory IDs.
Yes.
But when you are associating with beginning inventory and PLU and all that, you need this association. So even though you are getting other inventory IDs, this inventory ID you already created a released product, right? With inventory master, when you get the inventory master. So, but when you associate PLUs and support items and other items with that inventory ID, you are going to use this logic, right? So right now what you're doing is, you're taking inventory ID 1001, let's say, and then you're looking for associated PLUs for that inventory ID, and you're creating barcodes, right?
Yes.
So that logic you will use this data. So when you use that data for association, your profile ID is same, because profile ID, whatever it is there, that will use. But instead of one association, right now you're sometimes you don't even have association, because sometimes it is null. Inventory ID is null right now. So when you read this 114700, right now in the current design, you don't even know which inventory ID you will map this to.
Correct.
So now you will not have that issue, because other inventory IDs will show that mapping.
Let me ask another question on this sample over there. If we add all other inventory IDs, if a user scans that UPC, is that going to refer to this menu item, like 114700? Or they is going to have to scan the main inventory ID?
So right now it is scanning main inventory ID, and it has associated PLUs mapped to it. So the way they are using Raphael is, whatever you are sending in the beginning inventory, which is inventory ID. So that is mapped to the button description. However, that inventory ID as an association of the specific PLU that we are sending in the PLU pricing API. So they are maintaining that relation for that particular trip, because PLU POS/PLU/trip ID is for that particular trip. So for that particular trip, they are maintaining that relation when they are creating all the transfer order and everything.
Go back to the UI for 1 second, Rupesh, please.
Okay.
So let me ask you this over here. If we send this, no, go back to the menu items or to the recipes. Go to the recipe because it's the same menu item ID. Go to the recipes, please. So that's the PLU. The PLU is the same thing as the recipe, 850459. So all of those different inventories IDs are part of this PLU. So you're saying over there, when they scan this over here, if the system is going to bring this POS up this button over here?
This is a question for Krish.
Rafael, no. Rafael, can you repeat your question?
Okay.
And slow.
Okay, this is a PLU, right? Menu item, a PLU. That's the ID. In this case, it's tied to a recipe. And the main ingredient is the 5451 PLU, inventory ID.
Right.
So when they scan this item to sell on the POS, are they going to allow to scan 5451, or are they going to be able to scan the other inventory IDs which have UPCs? And when you bring up that you're going to bring up these, that all of those three items on the bottom also refer to these 850459.
So when we send beginning inventory, we send 50451 in the beginning inventory, right? And everything basically.
Plus everything.
Correct.
So they will pull up 50451 if that has the price. So because we're going to map this with the pricing API, which is PLU/trip ID.
Yeah. So if there is no price, they are not going to sell it. But there will be a catalog for those products for everything else, but not selling.
So when you sell an item, let's say they scan an item, on this example that we have over here, when they scan which item will they be able to scan that is going to bring out a price? Only 5451?
Yes.
So they can, if they scan the other items, 9805,
there will be no price.
Okay, because that also has a UPC. So they're not going to be able to...
Yeah, they will not even see in there. They will just scan tea bags here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, other items, they can search for them in the POS screen, but not for scanning.
These items are not sellable, so...
Yeah, there will be no button.
Okay.
The bigger question again to start of this meeting is they need this item for our reconciliation.
Good. So Rupesh, go back to that, Shreyas, go back. Rupesh, if you go back to the notepad, and Shreyas, are you good? Any questions?
I want to have one small example where I want to see the other inventory IDs, because
example.
Yeah, because let's say
Shreyas, you have to go with some assumptions till the time Rafael is making this change. So we just discussed this, right?
Okay.
So we may not have that ready, but you just assume some of the inventory IDs from the inventory item master and put it here, and just do your understanding.
Rupesh, just go back to the web API, bring out that 850459 JSON object, put over there the correct fields from the UI, and just add an array of all of the inventory IDs on that.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Yeah, 80.
Because you don't need a web API to return that. You can go to the menu item.
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, it's over here. So you can copy this record. So go to Notepad. There's a new, okay. Add over there the other inventory IDs. A new field. I think and put an array over there and go to the UI and grab all of the inventories and let's add all of these inventories over here. 9805, 91015. No, probably not. We don't need over there the main ingredient, right? Or we can also add the main ingredient over there.
Yeah, we're adding everything. So.
Okay, so if we're adding everything, then grab everything from there.
I don't know. The copy is not helping me.
Yeah. No, Rupesh. So just copy files. Yeah. Put that in
one at a time. We'll be faster. You're gonna make it.
Yeah. Only 4 things, right?
No, he's saying one at a time.
Why you want to be a copy master?
Rupesh.
Oh, take a screenshot and you key those in. It'll be faster.
That I'm just trying to see. Did I lose that somewhere or no?
Do save it first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't close the. But we.
Notepad++ automatically saves, I believe.
Yeah, it does. But if you close it, then it doesn't.
I think.
Okay, Rupesh, easier. Go to the SQL. Go to the SQL.
That's what I was going. So let's go SQL.
Rupesh, first save this, man. Don't close it, okay?
Just select all from.
Aditya is scared.
Yeah, I don't know what you are doing, man. You are so confused. So just save it.
We can begin the call again.
I mean, I'm clear from the beginning. It's all now. But
I think
I will be doing.
One of us is home already.
I think. Yeah, we are recording.
Numerous.
Right now we are recording.
Rupesh, make your life easy. Just query the. If you know the entry ID for that trip, just query the RMF. That was going to give you all of the inventory IDs. Just go to the web API, call it the.
I don't know which API this is used, but we can find a reverse way, like.
Yeah, you remember one, I remember one, you remember one. Just tell him.
Okay. Let's go.
You understand Raphael, right? We don't know if that is used in the trip.
Hey, go to the UI. I'll write it down and dictate to you. Go to the UI.
You don't understand, Aditya. This is a recipe.
50451.
No, it's not about the ID. We are trying to see which trip it was used. So.
91505.
Okay, and then just go over there. Stay over there on the table over here, Rupesh. Scroll down a little bit farther down. Go to MAN. Go to query over here. Hold a second. Query the product support recipe. Query this menu support recipe internal.
Shall we can go again.
Query that one first of all. And just query the inventory ID.
I mean, we are still doing spoon feeding here, so.
Just grab the inventory ID. $8504.59. I'm sorry, query the detail. I'm sorry, the inventory, the recipe inventory.
That's called inventory. Okay. It's clipboard.
Okay, copy those. Okay, and add it over there to the notepad. And you can format it in a second. And go back to the SQL.
You do the support.
Yeah, and a query over there instead of menu pro recipe, change over there to support.
Oh, yeah.
The same thing. The only thing I remember if it is support recipe ID or recipe ID. Select all. You need a from.
Same products, recipe, inventory, and wrong. Your naming convention, Rafael,
You mean,
in 1.5
right.
it's kind of confusing. Sorry, Rafael.
You're missing the from over there too, okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Thirty. Recipe ID is put over there 30. I believe it's recipe ID.
Yeah, that's why for your naming convention, I thought support recipe ID, but you're 30 as a recipe ID.
I don't remember what it was. No, it's not 30.
No, it is trying to say this part.
Support recipe. And go all the way to the top is support recipe. Okay, copy that's 5 inventories. So that's the way you guys want this, right?
Yes. Now my question is, if somebody can answer. So now I'm going to create 50451, which is the first one in the list as a release product, and I want to understand what name you want me to give this to this item, because this can be a napkin, this can be a box, this can be a this can be something else. So do I also get the name here?
Do you need the name? But you get the name from here. I mean, you're just creating redundancies here, but we can give you the name.
No, because inventory API master, at the moment, if I look at the mapping and the previous discussion, some of the things are coming from inventory master, but few things like item name, POS button description, all these things.
I think let me go back again. Your POS button description is your PLU, the one which the LSA will be clicking.
Yes. So do you want me to copy the same as your main item here, as line number 67? So whatever item for this item, whatever I have, do you want me to copy profile ID and POS button description same to other inventory IDs?
No, if you want to get the other inventory description here, you have to query your master to get that description. This is not a product that basically is what the LSA will be clicking. LSA will be clicking a comp T hot solo.
Okay, so in that case, I will not save anything in POS button description. So I'll not save any description, right? Is that okay?
Yes, I mean.
And what about profile ID? Do you want me to keep the same profile ID as 10 or what?
The profile.
Sorry, 108. Yeah.
Profile ID is for you is the 108.
All right. So can we also write all these things? Because when I create items, I need certain things. So like profile ID, item name, POS button description. These are some important things.
But let me ask this: if you do it like that, I mean, you can have, the same inventory ID on other recipes, and it's going to be the same inventory ID having different information. I don't think you want to do that unless I'm thinking wrong. But I mean, the item that you're selling is the item 83. 0459, and the main ingredient is 5451. The other one is just part of that recipe. That if you add support profile, what about if the same inventory items are on a different recipe?
You're not selling those. Remember, basically you're not giving a price to this. You're decrementing this part of that cell, part of this cell.
Or sorry, we also discussed about default category. Do you want me to put this into a default category? So default profile ID.
Well, the profile ID is for that menu item, right? I mean, whatever the menu item is a profile ID.
All right. So what you're saying is he could have multiple profile IDs for the same product. That's what I'm hearing.
No, what they're doing is, Tom, they're trying to attach a profile for each of this.
I understand that.
And then the next thing is they want a pause button description for all of this.
All right, so maybe we can ignore pause button description. You are saying that.
Okay, excuse me.
Yes,
Chris, you are there in this, Christopher?
Yes.
Okay, so now here we are talking about a scenario for recipe. Okay, recipe item. So their main item ID is 850459. Okay, means as a recipe ID button. So once he will click on that, or they will select this item ID, they are assuming all these below items will be
that is a recipe. We will not be doing recipes.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Bring this thing here.
Yeah.
No, but ideally, guys, we are not doing recipe. But when they select 850459, or they select 50451, the item should be sold is 50451. That should be there.
Yeah, that should be in a different.
That'll have a different PLU.
Yeah, there will be a different PLU, right? It won't be under this.
Yes.
So
as long as they have that.
No, that is how we come to this conclusion, right?
Yeah.
If else, if else, if else.
Yeah.
So these other inventory IDs.
Quota, the first case is yours. Sold as is 50451.
Right.
So there is.
Then recipe ID is null. Sorry, inventory ID is null.
Go to the API response and search for that item.
Maybe this is a different example, but.
Yeah.
But Chris Camila. What we are saying is, we are not going into recipe. That is all happens in the back end based on what Dave told us. You will just associate these items. For that also you need this design.
Yeah.
To be able to support that.
Yeah, this is going to support that Dave's model. So to be able to sell whatever sellable item, revenue item, we need association for that as well. Anyways, so but you need to see how you put that existing and this one. But think about it and write it up and let us know.
So whatever we're discussing today, right? Make sure you just digest this information and by Monday come up with any questions, any issues, anything that you need. Start implementing it. So just put that in a design document, get it reviewed with all your BAs and whoever on your site, and then send it to us. And we can just tell you as well to, yes or no on this.
Does any of this get in the way of the OBO? We have an item ID, an inventory ID, I understand that, but any of it?
OBO can be applied to any, it is sellable or any support they have to track.
Yeah.
That is a different case. They have to track per cell. If it is getting reduced, they can order.
Yep, because 90805 could be in the beginning inventory payload.
It will be.
So they will have this ID. If this ID is in the released product, they will have this one. So, but
they have to design this first so that OBO can work.
Exactly. So, Chris, for your design, right? So there are two things for you. One is uniquely identifying all the released products based off of this design, this payload. And second thing would be how you associate these things. So you need association first. Then you say, okay, give me distinct IDs of all these products, which will be my released products. Those products could be support recipe IDs and support item IDs, whatever it is. You will have a released product for that. So that way you covered on the released product part. But when you are pricing these and when you are doing the beginning inventory, all those will be trip level, right? So that's when you will look for associated pricing items, associated PLUs, depending on what you are getting in the beginning inventory as well as trade agreements. So, as Aditya was saying, you don't have to come up with the design right now, but process all this information.
See, basically now you have all the data to do whatever you want to do. your data integrity is maintained with this. Now, how you release your products and all that, you just put it in a design.
Exactly.
And then while putting in a design, if you see there are something that is breaking or something that is not happening, let us know, because we, as of today, everybody, me, Rupesh, Tom, Quota, and everybody else from Amtrak thinks this will work for us. So, Tom, I spoke. Yeah. So everybody says yes. Rupesh, you also, right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just want to see their design.
And I guess
Only pending item is from our side is this section.
Other inventory IDs.
Yep.
So we just want you to digest this information, look at it, think about it, design it, and by Monday just let us know, and then we can do a small session, and then you can start working towards this.
So also, if Chris, if you have run into any issues, or if you having issues while you are thinking through your release product design or transfer or anything, let us know. We can discuss. So right now, what we did here is we created the data, all the data that you need, all the IDs, I would say, product IDs, recipe IDs, support recipe IDs in the payload with a relation. So how you use it and how you implement it, that's what you need to put it in a design the way it works for D365. Before, we are not having some little bit of data mapping, like when you see inventory ID is null, we don't know where to go back and look for that, if we need to look for that. Right now you can look for that based on these inventory IDs.
So there are two cases.
Could you send me this white sheet?
We will email you.
We will email you. There are two cases. One, this case, and the second is with one if condition, and this is our output response.
Yeah, if you could email that to me, I will bring it into the document as an example.
So amongst us all right now, I don't think that there's any case that we'd have to worry about that doesn't comply with or doesn't meet the cases that we've laid out here.
Exactly.
And this is also for nationwide, so this solution will fix your future scenarios as well.
It sets up your data for
future.
So also, Chris Park, we don't want you to think like, okay, we are not doing recipe. Yeah, we agree, we are not doing recipe. But you know what? We have to sell sellable items, right? That's what we are trying to get to.
Sellable and support.
We are not doing recipes at all. It's just that we are going to flatten the recipe that we have into an inventory ID and a PLU format, and we are giving it to you. We have not done anything else. If you see, we just flatten the data on your side.
So we open this recipe completely and give you that these are the ID set.
Yes, and there is absolutely no relation between the main item and the other items which are part of recipe, right? So they are flattened. So
at this point, yes.
With them,
So Shreyesh, you think about it, how you can create released products and how it will impact anything, basically beginning inventory. How basically you need to map end to end, right? You have to map.
Yes.
You have to map this with trade agreement, then from their beginning inventory, then from their button description, whatever you map to on the button side also. So try to map entire end-to-end design. But for your data purpose, right, Shreyesh, for your staging tables, have this data in a proper relation that we talked about if else, if else. So when you stage the data, now you will have like 4 or 5 tables, not only 2 tables, right? So if you may have a table for support items, so you will have the item ID as a key, so you don't have to keep repeat rows in the same table, right?
Exactly.
You can have a relation. So that way your staging data is set, whatever the way you implement, even in the future. So let's say future Dave may want to implement recipe model. Then you have the data in your tables, you can implement it.
Yeah, not recipe, okay? Again, we're not saying
in the future.
But I think what he was talking about was a bill of materials.
Because for that also he needs this data.
That's what I was thinking.
He has all the data.
So exactly. So what we're talking about is Dave Whitehack is working on a bill of materials design for some of the.
Let's stop that conversation. Let them handle that. But just.
Yeah, but they need this data.
Yeah, let him come because I don't know where is he.
No. These guys has to figure out how to store this data.
We don't want to have to change it again.
Bill of materials is like a recipe concept. On another way you can say, like it's like a restaurant model.
Yeah. So, but for these guys, if you figure out, you create this data in your staging area with a proper relation, that will solve that also whenever DevAttack needs his data.
Right.
All right.
So what else? You are good, right, Shreyas? Chris, you will
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. One thing quickly. So, if API, when can I expect a new API?
We will let you know, but by Monday first understand, read about, go through all this and then just come up with a small design. In the meantime, we'll let you know.
Yeah,
Okay, so one more request. Yeah. One more request I have. So even without API, if you can, somebody can send me the data in Excel. I mean, through SQL, you can directly put in any Excel file and send it to me. Is that okay?
That notepad will send you. If you go, Rupesh, go to that notepad once.
No, I'll send the notepad. Coming back to the Excel, what he's asking.
I want to have the recipe. I mean, main table. You have a recipe ID and the other product IDs. So,
I think in October, November we had sent, even December we had sent numerous times the concept, but maybe we can send it again in an Excel. But this is the idea, like this.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So far I'm good on this. So I don't have any.
First, Sriyesh, on your part, and I know you'll work with Chris Berkeley and everybody and your team, but and Chris Camilla, but for your part, start with your staging area tables design. How you want to stage this data?
Okay.
Two tables.
Is there like a design lead or that can work with you guys on this?
So whatever. Okay, guys, let's hang on, right? So Shreyesh, by Monday, and Chris, like by Monday, come up with the design on all this. Rupesh, send this email to all of us, and Rafael and Rupesh will talk once small between you, me, Quota, Prasad, and at Amtrak, and we'll come up for a timeline for.
On our side, we since this discussion went through 4 or 5 days, so most of them are covered. We just need one more field here.
Yep.
Yeah, so you just we'll talk about that, right, and send them when we can have the APIs ready. But other than that, we are all okay, right? Nobody has any other open item questions?
No, I'm good. Krish, you have anything?
Yeah, so I have one thing. So Aditya, by Monday we will review this thing again, and we will check from our side, okay, what we are getting with this, and then definitely we will have one more quick exercise, as you said,
Yeah, that's fine. We are fine with that. We just want to make sure this time we are going to close this and with understanding and agreement on both sides.
Correct.
But make sure you guys review it properly, right? Just don't.
Yeah, we will document it. We will send our understanding to you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anybody? Last 1, 2, 3.
We haven't been at this long enough. Let's keep going.
All right, guys. Have a nice weekend, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah.